The phone rang at 4:47 in the morning. I was awake already, standing at the kitchen window of my Cheyenne apartment watching streetlights flicker against the dark. Sleep had been running from me for weeks. Ever since that last call with Dad 3 weeks back, something in his voice had sounded off. Tired maybe, or worried. I'd meant to drive out that weekend, check on him, make sure everything was okay, but work got busy, always got busy, and I told myself next weekend. Always next weekend. Now the phone sat on the counter, screen glowing with my brother's name. Travis, calling before dawn. Nothing good ever came from calls like that. I'd learned that in the Marines. 4 in the morning phone calls meant someone was dead or someone was dying or someone needed you to pick up a rifle and start moving. None of those options ended well. I picked it up, said nothing, just waited, heard Travis breathing on the other end, heard him trying to find the words, heard the exact moment he gave up looking for gentle ones and just said it straight. Travis's voice came through rough like he'd been crying or hadn't slept. Maybe both. Ethan, Dad's gone, heart attack. Found him in the barn this morning around 4. Paramedics said he died maybe 2-3 hours before. I'm sorry, brother. The words landed but didn't stick. Dad was 72 years old, still fixing fence posts last month when I visited, still riding horses at dawn, still stronger than men half his age. Hearts like that didn't just give out. I pressed the phone against my ear, heard Travis breathing on the other end, heard the wind behind him through an open door. Wyoming wind, ranch wind, the sound of home. When did you find him? I said. Came out to feed at 4. Saw the barn lights on. He was lying by the workbench, wrench in his hand, like he just sat down for a minute and didn't get back up. I closed my eyes, saw Dad at that workbench, saw his hands scarred and thick, holding tools like they were extensions of his own body. Saw him teaching me to fix a saddle when I was 10, showing me how to true a blade when I was 12. Patient, quiet, never rushing. I'll be there in 3 hours, I said. Travis said okay, said he'd make coffee, said he'd wait. The line went dead. I stood in my kitchen for 5 full minutes. The apartment felt wrong, too small, too clean, too far from anything real. I'd built a life here in Cheyenne after the Marines. Found work as a construction supervisor, rented a decent place. Tried to convince myself I was making something, but it was all just temporary, always had been. The ranch was real, Dad was real, everything else was just time passing. I packed a bag, threw in clothes, boots, my old work jacket, didn't think about what I'd need, just moved. Grabbed my truck keys, locked the door, left. The drive from Cheyenne to Sheridan took 3 hours on a good day. I made it in 2.5. Route 14 cut through the Bighorn Mountains, twisting through high country where the air thinned and the pines grew tight against the road. I'd driven this route 1,000 times, knew every turn, every mile marker. Dad taught me to drive on this road when I was 15. Sat in the passenger seat of his old Ford, calm as Sunday morning, while I white-knuckled the wheel and tried not to drive us off a cliff. You're thinking too much, he'd said. Just feel the road. The truck knows where to go, you just guide it. I thought about that now, thought about his voice, thought about the way he never panicked, never raised his voice, just guided, just waited for you to figure it out. The sun came up somewhere past Buffalo. Orange light spilled over the mountains, lit the sagebrush flats, turned the whole world amber and gold. It was the kind of morning Dad loved. The kind where he'd stand on the porch with his coffee and just watch. Not thinking, not planning, just being. I turned off the radio, couldn't stand the noise, drove in silence, watched the road, felt the truck guide itself home. The ranch appeared just after noon. 800 acres of grassland tucked into a valley south of Sheridan, mountains rising behind it like a wall against the sky. The entrance gate had our name on it. Cole Ranch, established 1924. My great-grandfather built that gate with his own hands, drove the posts, welded the iron, hung the sign. 4 generations of Coles had passed under it, now one less. I pulled through and followed the gravel drive up to the main house. The place looked smaller than I remembered. Happens every time you come home. Childhood makes everything bigger. Memory stretches things, but the house was still standing, still solid. White paint peeling in places, porch sagging a little on the south end. Dad had been meaning to fix that for 5 years. Kept saying he'd get to it next spring. Travis's truck sat in the driveway. Mud caked on the wheel wells, tools in the bed. He lived 20 minutes down the road on a smaller piece of property, but he'd been spending more and more time here the last few years. Helping Dad, taking over the work as Dad slowed down. I should have noticed. Should have come home more. Should have done a lot of things. I parked beside Travis's truck and sat for a minute. Looked at the barn. Big red structure older than the house, standing where it had stood for 90 years. Horses used to fill that barn. 20 head when I was a kid. Dad and his father breaking them, training them, selling them to ranchers across 3 states. Now it held equipment. Hey, memories. The barn door was open. I could see yellow police tape across the entrance. Could see Travis standing just outside it, talking to a sheriff's deputy. They both turned when my truck door slammed. Travis walked over, 48 years old, 3 years older than me, looked 10 years older than that, face weathered from sun and wind, hands rough, eyes red from crying or lack of sleep or both. He opened his arms and I let him pull me into a hug. His shoulders shook once, just once. Then he steadied. "I can't believe he's gone," Travis said. "Just yesterday we were fixing fence line together, talking about spring planting. He seemed fine, strong." I pulled back, looked at him. "You find him right at 4. Little after. I come by every morning to help with feeding. Saw the lights on in the barn. Thought maybe he couldn't sleep, was working early. But when I got close I knew something was wrong. He was just lying there, still. I called 911, tried CPR, but he was already cold." The deputy finished his notes and came over, offered condolences. Said the coroner would release the body tomorrow. Said it looked like natural causes. Heart attack. Happens to men his age, nothing suspicious. Just a life that ran its course and stopped. I thanked him, watched him drive away, stood in the driveway with Travis and looked at the ranch, at the land stretching out in every direction, at the mountains standing watch, at the barn where Dad had died alone in the dark. "He had a physical 2 months ago," I said. "Doctor told him his heart was strong. Said he had the heart of a 60-year-old. Travis shrugged. "Doctors don't know everything. Hearts give out. That's what they do." Something in his voice felt off. Too casual, too ready with the answer. But grief makes everyone sound strange, makes you doubt everything. I let it go. We walked into the house together. The place smelled like Dad. Coffee, wood smoke, leather, Old Spice, everything exactly where he left it. Boots by the door, jacket on the hook, coffee mug in the sink, calendar on the wall with his handwriting marking appointments and chores. The calendar was turned to November. Today's date circled in red, Tuesday, November 5th. Below it, Dad had written in his careful block letters, vet clinic 9 a.m. Lunch with Ethan next week. I stared at that line. Lunch with Ethan next week. He'd been planning to see me, had been looking forward to it, had written it down so he wouldn't forget. And now he was gone and that lunch would never happen and I'd never hear what he wanted to talk about. Travis saw me looking at the calendar, put a hand on my shoulder. "He talked about you all the time, was proud of you, proud you served, proud you made something of yourself." I didn't feel like I'd made anything, felt like I'd run away, left Travis to handle everything, left Dad to age alone, left the ranch to slowly fall apart while I pretended I had a life somewhere else. The funeral happened fast. Small town Wyoming doesn't wait around. Dad had been a regular at the Methodist church in town, had known Pastor Jim Warren for 40 years. The service was set for Saturday, 3 days away, gave people time to travel, time to prepare, time to accept that Frank Cole was really gone. Those 3 days moved like mud. I stayed at the ranch, slept in my old bedroom, same bed, same cracks in the ceiling, same window looking out over the north pasture. Travis came by every morning. We worked together, fed the cattle, checked fence lines, fixed a gate hinge. Didn't talk much, just worked. Let the land fill the silence. Neighbors started showing up Thursday, bringing food, offering help, sharing memories. Old ranch families who'd known Dad since he was young. They told stories about cattle drives in the 70s, about the blizzard of '88 when Dad helped pull a dozen calves from snowdrifts and saved half the herd, about the time he won the county roping championship at age 50 and donated the prize money to the volunteer fire department. Everyone said the same thing. Frank Cole was a good man, honest, fair, loved his boys equally, loved this land, would be missed. One man, old Dale Hutchins, pulled me aside on Friday. Dale had worked for my grandfather back in the day, had helped Dad through some hard years, was close to 80 now but still sharp. "Your daddy was proud of you, Ethan," Dale said. "Talked about you all the time, said you'd come back someday. Said you'd build a house on the north pasture by the creek. He had plans." I felt my throat tighten. Plans. Dad always had plans, always thinking ahead, always seeing 5 years down the road. "Did he say anything else?" I asked. "About me, about the ranch?" Dale looked at me careful, measuring his words. "He said the ranch was for both you boys, equal, said that was only fair. You both grew up here, both earned it, that's what he said." Equal, both boys, fair. I heard those words and filed them away. Didn't know yet why they'd matter, didn't know what was coming. Saturday arrived cold and clear. November in Wyoming. The kind of day where the sky goes so blue it almost hurts. The kind of day Dad loved. I woke before dawn in my childhood bedroom. Lay there listening to the house settle. The same creaks and groans I'd heard 10,000 times growing up. The sound of home. Got dressed in my only suit, black. Bought it for Mom's funeral 22 years ago. Still fit. Barely. Stood in front of the mirror and tied my tie 3 times before getting it right. Dad had taught me to tie a tie when I was 16, for my high school graduation. Stood behind me at this same mirror and walked me through it step by step. "A man should know how to tie a proper tie," he'd said. "Shows respect." I went downstairs, found Travis already there. Coffee made. He handed me a cup without a word. We stood in the kitchen drinking coffee and watching the sun come up through the window. Same window where Mom used to stand washing dishes, where she'd hum old Johnny Cash songs while she worked, where Dad stood every morning after she died, staring out at nothing, drinking coffee like it might fill the hole she left. The church filled up. 60, maybe 70 people, more than I expected, ranchers in clean jeans and pressed shirts, their wives in simple dresses, kids squirming in pews, old ranch hands who'd worked with Dad decades ago, neighbors from properties 10, 20 miles away. Small town funeral. Everyone knew everyone. Everyone had a story. I sat in the front row with Travis, looked at the casket. Pine, simple, nothing fancy. Dad would have hated fancy. Would have said it was a waste of money. Would have wanted something plain that came from trees that grew on land like his, something honest. Pastor Warren spoke about Dad's life. Born in 1952 right here in Sheridan. Raised on this ranch by parents who'd survived the Depression and knew what hard meant. Married my mother, Catherine Ann Morrison, in 1974. Raised 2 sons after she died of cancer in 1986. Worked this land for 50 years. Never complained. Never quit. Just kept going. Kept his word. Kept his honor. The pastor read from Ecclesiastes, "To everything there is a season." A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to harvest. Dad had planted a lot, had harvested plenty. Now his season was done. Several people spoke. Old ranch hand Dale Hutchins stood up without being asked, walked to the front on knees that barely worked anymore, talked about helping Dad's father back in the 60s, about watching Frank Cole grow from a boy into a man, about seeing him take over the ranch at 25 when his own father died young, about watching him raise two sons alone after Catherine passed. Frank Cole was the kind of man we don't make anymore, Dale said. He didn't talk about honor, he lived it. Didn't talk about hard work, he did it. And he raised his boys the same way, taught them what matters: land, family, truth. Dale looked right at me when he said that last word, truth, held my eyes for a long moment, then nodded and sat back down. A woman I didn't recognize spoke next. Said her name was Margaret Chen, said her husband was Dad's doctor. Said Dad came in 2 months ago for his annual physical, passed every test. His heart was strong, his mind was sharp. He talked about his sons, about the ranch, about plans for spring, about hoping Ethan would come home soon. She looked at me. Your father loved you very much, both of you. He was proud of the men you'd become. The words hit harder than they should have, made my throat tight, made it hard to breathe. Travis spoke last, stood at the front and talked about Dad teaching him to ride when he was 5, teaching him to rope when he was 7, teaching him that a man's value wasn't in his words but in his labor, teaching him that land didn't belong to you. You belonged to it. You were just a caretaker for the next generation. Travis's voice cracked twice, had to stop and collect himself. I saw people dab their eyes, saw grown ranchers who'd weathered every hardship Wyoming could throw at them wiping tears from weathered faces. I couldn't speak, couldn't stand up there and say words that would mean anything, so I sat, listened, let Travis carry it. After the service, we drove to the cemetery, small plot on a hill overlooking the valley. Grandfather's grave was there, great-grandfather's grave, Mom's grave. Now Dad would join them. 4 generations of Coles in Wyoming soil. They lowered the casket. Pastor Warren said final words. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. People filed past, dropped flowers, touched the wood, said goodbye. I stood until everyone left, stood until Travis left. Stood alone on that hill with the wind cutting through my jacket and the sun dropping toward the mountains. Looked at the casket. Looked at Mom's headstone 10 feet away. Thought about how Dad had visited her grave every Sunday for 38 years. How he'd never remarried, never even dated, just stayed faithful to a memory. I'm sorry I wasn't here more, I said out loud. Sorry I left you alone. Sorry I didn't come back sooner. The wind was the only answer. The wind and the distant call of a hawk circling over the valley. I drove back to the ranch as the sun set. Sky turned orange, then purple, then black. Stars came out, millions of them, Wyoming stars, the kind you can't see in cities, the kind that make you feel small and large at the same time. Travis met me at the house, said the lawyer wanted to see us Monday morning. We'll reading, standard procedure, get the estate settled, figure out what comes next. I wasn't worried. Dad had always been clear. The ranch would be ours, both of us, equal partners. He'd said it 100 times. You boys get this place together, you protect it together, that's fair. Fair, that word again. Monday morning came too fast. I met Travis at the house. We drove into Sheridan together, didn't talk much. Radio played old country, George Strait, Alan Jackson, songs Dad used to hum while he worked. The lawyer's office was in an old building downtown, 2nd floor, wooden stairs that creaked. Richard Paulson had handled Cole family business for 20 years, handled my grandfather's estate, handled Dad's will when Mom died, knew our whole history. His office smelled like old paper and coffee, shelves lined with law books, desk covered with files. Paulson was 58, mostly retired now, only took a few clients. Dad had been one of them. We sat in leather chairs across from his desk. The leather cracked when we moved, old leather. The kind that's been sat in by 1,000 worried people waiting to hear how their lives would be divided up after someone died. The office was warm, too warm, made my collar feel tight. Paulson opened a file, pulled out papers, adjusted his reading glasses, cleared his throat in that way lawyers do when they're about to say something that'll change your life. Last will and testament of Franklin James Cole, executed March 15, 2020. I recognized the date, 4 years ago, right after Dad turned 70. He told me he was updating his will, making sure everything was in order, making sure we'd be taken care of. We talked about it on the phone. He'd said the ranch would be ours, both of us, partners, equal like it should be. Paulson read through the standard parts. Personal effects to be divided by mutual agreement between the sons. Bank accounts, of which there were 3, to be split equally. Vehicles and equipment to be cataloged and distributed fairly. I barely heard any of it, just waited for the part that mattered, the land. The ranch property, Paulson said, his voice taking on that formal tone lawyers use when reading legal documents, consisting of 800 acres, all buildings thereon, all livestock, all equipment, all water rights to be divided as follows. I waited, felt my heart beating steady, expected to hear 50% to each son, expected to hear the words Dad had said 100 times. You boys get this place together, you protect it together. You're partners, that's how it should be. Paulson's voice continued. 85% to Travis Michael Cole, 15% to Ethan James Cole. The words hung in the air like smoke. I heard them, understood each one individually. 85% Travis, 15% Ethan. But together they formed something that made no sense, something impossible, something wrong. The office got quieter, or maybe louder. Hard to tell. My ears were ringing. That high-pitched sound you get after an explosion, after something blows up in your face and you're trying to figure out if you're still alive. What I said, my voice sounded far away, like someone else was speaking. That can't be right. Paulson looked uncomfortable, shifted papers around on his desk, wouldn't quite meet my eyes. I'm sorry, Ethan. This is a codicil, an amendment to the original will, dated September 22nd of this year, 6 weeks before your father's death. It supersedes the previous distribution, which was, as you noted, 50-50. He slid a paper across the desk. Single page, legal-sized. I picked it up, hand steady, Marine training, don't shake, don't show weakness, read it. Legal language filled the page. Whereas and heretofore and party of the first part, and all the words lawyers use to make simple things sound complicated, to make theft sound legitimate. But at the bottom, clear as day, in plain English that anyone could understand, Travis Cole 85%, Ethan Cole 15%. And below that a signature, Dad's signature, Franklin J. Cole, written in what looked like his hand, his distinctive style. Except it wasn't right. Something about it was off. I'd seen Dad's signature 1,000 times, on birthday cards, on hunting licenses, on the deed to my first truck that he co-signed when I was 18. I knew that signature better than my own. The F was wrong. Dad always did a flourish on his capital F, a little curve at the top, a little style, made it his. This F was flat, just a straight vertical line and a horizontal cross. No curve, no personality, no Dad. And the tail on Cole. Dad always swept it upward at the end. Little upturn that made the whole name look confident, proud. This one ended flat, just stopped dead like someone got tired halfway through. I looked at Travis. He was watching me, face neutral, eyes steady, waiting. "Dad never told me about this," I said. Travis shifted in his seat. He realized I'd been gone too long, realized I'd built a life away from here. He wanted to make sure the ranch went to someone who'd actually take care of it. His voice was calm, reasonable, like he'd practiced this, like he'd known exactly what he'd say when this moment came. Paulson cleared his throat. "Frank came in with Travis on September 22nd. They brought this codicil already prepared. Your father signed it in my presence. 2 witnesses also signed. Everything is legal and binding." "Who were the witnesses?" I asked. Paulson checked the document. "Kyle Brennan and Scott Rivers." I knew those names. Travis's friends. Guys he drank with at the bar in town. Guys who'd do him a favor without asking questions. "Dad came here," I said, "to this office, on September 22nd, and signed this." Paulson nodded. Yes. He seemed tired, a bit confused maybe, but he knew what he was doing. He told me he wanted to make this change, wanted Travis to have the majority since Travis had devoted his life to the ranch. I looked at Travis again. He met my eyes this time, held my gaze. "Did you know about this before today?" I asked him. "No," Travis said. "Dad told me he was thinking about it, but I didn't know he'd actually done it." Lie, I knew it was a lie, knew it in my gut, in my bones, in the same way you know when someone's bluffing at cards or when a horse is about to bolt. You just know. But I had no proof, just a feeling, just a signature that looked slightly wrong and a brother who wouldn't hold my eyes. Paulson finished reading the will, said probate would take 60 days, said we should take time to process everything, said if we had questions we could call him any time. We left the office, walked down the creaking stairs, stood on the sidewalk in the cold November sun. I turned to Travis, looked him full in the face. "Dad promised me that land would be split equal, promised me since I was a kid. Why would he change his mind?" Travis shoved his hands in his pockets. "People change their minds, Ethan, especially when they get old, especially when they see who's actually there doing the work." I was there, I visited, I called. Twice a year, maybe. I was there every day, every single day, feeding cattle, fixing fence, taking him to doctor appointments. Where were you when he needed help? The words stung because they were partly true. I hadn't been there enough, hadn't helped enough, had built a life away and told myself it was okay, told myself Dad understood. But I also remembered the last time I called him, 3 weeks before he died, September 28th, 1 week after he supposedly signed this codicil. We'd talked for 20 minutes. He'd asked about my work, asked if I was happy, asked if I'd thought about moving back. "I'm getting old, son," he'd said. "Could use your help around here. And that north pasture by the creek, still waiting for you, still the best building spot on the whole ranch. You come back when you're ready. It'll be here." Why would he say that if he just cut me down to 15%? Why promise me land he'd already given away? I said none of this to Travis, just stood there on the sidewalk, watched cars pass, felt the ground shift under my feet. "You can stay at the house a few days," Travis said. "Figure out your next steps. I'm not throwing you out." How generous, how kind of him to let me stay in my dead father's house. The house where I grew up, where Mom died when I was 12, where Dad raised us alone, working himself to death so we'd have something. And now Travis had 85% of it. I drove back to the ranch alone. Travis said he had errands to run, things to handle. I didn't ask what, didn't care, just wanted to be alone. The house felt different now, smaller, like it was closing in, darker even though the sun was still up. I walked through it room by room, touched things. Dad's chair in the living room still had the shape of him in the cushion. The armrests worn smooth where his hands had rested 10,000 times. His coffee mug on the kitchen counter still had a ring of dried coffee at the bottom. His jacket hanging by the door. I lifted the sleeve, smelled it. Old Spice and leather and wood smoke and something else. Something that was just Dad, just him. His whole life left behind, like he'd just stepped out for a minute and would be right back. Like he'd gone to check the cattle and would walk through that door any second asking what was for dinner. But he wasn't coming back, never coming back. And somehow Travis had convinced everyone that Dad wanted me cut out, wanted me reduced to 15%, wanted his legacy divided unfairly. I didn't believe it, couldn't believe it. Dad had been many things, but unfair wasn't one of them. He'd split everything down the middle our whole lives. 2 boys meant 2 portions. Equal, fair. That was his way. I went to his office. Small room off the main hallway. Used to be a mud room when the house was first built. Dad converted it 20 years ago when paperwork started piling up. Put in a desk made from an old door and sawhorses. Added a filing cabinet from a government surplus sale. Hung a calendar on the wall. Called it his office, but really it was just a place to keep track of things that needed tracking. Desk covered with papers, but not messy. Organized in a way that made sense to Dad. Bills in one stack. Equipment manuals in another. Livestock records in a third. Everything had its place. A place for everything and everything in its place. That was Dad's motto. Said it came from his father who'd learned it in the army during Korea. I started looking. Didn't know what I was looking for exactly. Just knew something was wrong. Knew it in the way you know a storm is coming before the first drop of rain falls. In the way you know a horse is about to spook before it moves. Instinct. Gut. Whatever you want to call it. Found folders labeled by year. Pulled the one marked 2024. Heavy. Dad kept everything, every receipt, every contract, every piece of paper that might matter someday. Inside were property tax records, vet bills for the horses, feed store receipts, insurance papers, utility bills, everything organized by month. January through November. December would never be filled. I found Dad's checkbook, old leather cover, worn at the edges, flipped through the register. His handwriting filled every line, neat, careful, recording every transaction. Dad had kept a checkbook register his entire adult life. Said banks made mistakes. Said a man should know where his money went. Said it was about discipline. I went through September, line by line. September 5th, feed store $340. September 10th, vet $280. September 18th, church donation $100. September 25th, hardware store $67. September 30th, utilities $215. Nothing unusual. Normal ranch expenses, feed, vet care, donations, supplies, bills. But no entry for lawyer fees. No payment to Richard Paulson. No $400 check for estate work. Paulson charged $400 minimum for will work. I knew because I'd paid him years ago to handle some paperwork when I bought my first truck. Dad paid everything by check. Never used cash except for small things. Coffee at the diner. Tip for the kid who pumped gas. Offering at church. Everything else went through the checkbook. Every single transaction recorded in that careful handwriting. If he'd gone to Paulson on September 22nd and signed a codicil, amended his will, made a major legal change to his estate, where was the check? Where was the payment? Where was any evidence that he'd done legal work that month at all? I pulled out my phone, called Paulson's office, got the secretary. "Hi, this is Ethan Cole. Quick question about my father's will. What day of the week was September 22nd? Hold on, sound of papers shuffling. That was a Sunday. And is Mr. Paulson's office open on Sundays? No, sir, Tuesday and Thursday only. Mr. Paulson is semi-retired. Thank you. I hung up, stared at the checkbook. September 22nd was a Sunday. Paulson's office was closed on Sundays, but Paulson said Dad came to his office that day and signed the codicil, said he witnessed it personally. One of them was lying, either Paulson or the secretary or the calendar itself. I went back to the kitchen, looked at Dad's wall calendar, the one he wrote everything on, doctor appointments, cattle sales, feed deliveries, church on Sundays, everything. Found September 22nd. Dad's handwriting in the square, 9 a.m. Dr. Chen checkup, 12 p.m. cattle auction billings, 3 p.m. back home. Doctor appointment at 9 in the morning. Buffalo was 45 minutes away, cattle auction in Billings at noon. Billings was 2 hours north, then home by 3. If Dad was at the doctor at 9 and the auction at noon and home by 3, when exactly did he drive to Sheridan and sign a codicil at Paulson's office? The timeline didn't work, couldn't work, unless Dad had a private jet, unless he could be in 3 places at once. I called Dr. Chen's office, asked to speak to the nurse. Hi, I'm Ethan Cole, Frank Cole's son. I'm settling his estate and need to confirm an appointment. Did he have a checkup on September 22nd? The nurse put me on hold, came back 2 minutes later. Yes, sir. 9:15 appointment. He was here until 10:30, full physical, blood work, EKG. Everything came back excellent. His heart was very strong for a man his age. His heart was very strong. 2 months before it supposedly gave out. Thank you, I said. I called Billings Livestock Auction next, asked if they kept records of bidders. They did. I gave them Dad's name. They checked, confirmed he was registered bidder number 247 on September 22nd, purchased 6 head of Angus cattle, time stamp 12:40 p.m. So Dad was in Buffalo at 9:15, Billings at 12:40, and Sheridan was an hour and a half south of Billings. Even if he'd left the auction immediately, he couldn't have reached Paulson's office before 2:15 at the earliest. But Paulson said the codicil was signed at 2 p.m., said Dad was in his office, said he witnessed it. Impossible. The timeline was impossible. Dad was in 3 different places that day, and one of those places was a lawyer's office that wasn't even open. I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten breakfast as kids, where Mom used to make pancakes on Saturday mornings, where Dad taught us to play poker and let us win just often enough to keep us interested. I spread out the evidence, the checkbook with no lawyer payment, the calendar with the conflicting appointments, the codicil with the flat signature, the timeline that didn't work. Dad didn't sign that codicil, couldn't have, wasn't even in Sheridan that day. Which meant Travis forged it, forged Dad's signature, got his friends to lie about witnessing it, brought it to Paulson and convinced him it was real. My brother had stolen my inheritance, had waited until Dad was dead and then produced a fake document to take everything. And he'd almost gotten away with it, would have gotten away with it if I hadn't looked, if I hadn't questioned, if I just accepted what I was told and walked away. But I wasn't walking away, wasn't giving up. Dad had taught me better than that. I remembered being 8 years old, out in the pasture with Dad, learning to rope. I kept missing, kept getting frustrated, wanted to quit. Dad had knelt down beside me, put his hand on my shoulder. Son, he'd said, hard things are hard because they matter. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But you're not everyone. You're a Cole, and Coles don't quit. I wasn't quitting now. I went to the barn, The place where Dad died, where Travis found him at 4 in the morning lying next to the workbench, where his heart supposedly gave out, where a healthy 72-year-old man with the heart of a 60-year-old just stopped existing. Yellow police tape still hung across the door, but it wasn't locked. Small town courtesy. They'd investigated, found nothing suspicious, ruled it natural causes, moved on, left the tape up as a formality. I ducked under and walked inside. The barn was dark. Late afternoon sun cut through gaps in the boards, created stripes of light and shadow across the floor. Dust motes floated in the beams. The place smelled like hay and leather and oil and horses, even though we hadn't kept horses in here for 5 years. Some smells just soak into wood and never leave. Become part of the structure, part of the history. I walked slow, let my eyes adjust. The barn felt bigger inside than it looked outside, always had, something about the high ceiling, the open space, the way sound carried. Made my way to the workbench, the place where Travis found him, saw the wrench still on the floor where it had fallen, saw the project on the bench. Dad had been fixing a gate hinge, old iron hinge from one of the pasture gates, worn smooth from 60 years of use. He'd been working on it when he died. I picked up the wrench, heavy, cold, Dad's wrench. I'd watched him use this same wrench 1,000 times, watched him fix gates and fences and tractors and anything else that broke, watched him teach Travis how to use it, watched him teach me. A good wrench is like a good horse, he'd said, takes care of you if you take care of it. I set the wrench down gentle, looked around the barn, at the tools hung on pegboards, every tool in its place. Hammers, saws, pliers, screwdrivers, all organized by size, by function, everything clean, everything maintained. Dad's whole life was like that, organized, maintained, cared for. At the back of the barn were the saddle racks, 3 saddles lined up. Dad's everyday saddle for regular riding, his old competition saddle from when he used to rope in rodeos, beat up and scarred from hard use, and his custom saddle, the one made special in 1985, the one he'd saved up for 6 months to buy, the one he'd had for almost 40 years. Something pulled me toward that saddle. Can't explain it, just felt drawn, like Dad's hand on my shoulder guiding me. Walked to it, ran my hand over the leather. The leather was perfect, smooth where it needed to be, rough where it should be, oiled recently. Dad oiled this saddle every month without fail, had done it for 40 years, said leather was like skin, needed care, needed attention, neglect it and it dried out, cracked, failed when you needed it most. My hand found the back of the saddle, the cantle, felt along the seam where the leather met. Something was off. The stitching felt different, loose, recent, like someone had opened it and closed it again. I pulled out my pocket knife, opened the blade, cut the stitching careful, peeled back the leather, reached inside the padding. Felt paper, pulled it out. Envelope sealed, Dad's handwriting on the front in black ink, block letters, careful and clear. For ETHAN, if something happens. My hands shook. First time they'd shaken since the phone call. Since Travis told me Dad was gone, I'd been steady through everything. The drive, the funeral, the will reading, the confrontation, all of it. Steady like Dad taught me. But now, holding this envelope, my hands shook. I tore it open, pulled out the letter inside, 3 pages, Dad's handwriting filling every line. Dated August 10th, 3 months before he died, 2 months before the fake codicil. I read standing in that barn, read in the strips of light cutting through the dark, read every word 3 times, let each one sink in, let the reality of what I was holding settle into my bones. The letter started simple. Son, if you're reading this, I'm gone and Travis did what I feared. Then it got specific, detailed, Dad explaining that he'd seen trouble coming, That Travis had been asking about the ranch value, about what it could sell for, about the will, about who got what when Dad died, that he'd noticed Travis getting desperate, secretive, that he'd seen the signs of money trouble, gambling debts probably. Dad had found betting slips in Travis's truck, had seen the way Travis flinched when certain names were mentioned, the way he avoided certain people in town. Dad wrote that he'd made preparations, that he'd hidden the real will with Judge Raymond Booth in Buffalo, dated March 2020. Everything split 50-50 like he'd always promised. Legal, proper, witnessed by the judge himself. He wrote that if any other will or codicil showed up, especially one that changed the distribution, especially one supposedly signed when Dad was old or sick or near death, it was fake, forged, not his true wishes. He wrote, Travis is in trouble, but he's still my son, still your brother, I love him, but I won't let him steal from you. This ranch is yours as much as his. You earned it by being born a Cole, by being raised on this land, by carrying our name. Don't let him take it. The letter ended with instructions. Go to Judge Booth. He has the real will. He'll help you. Fight for what's right, son, but also remember mercy. Travis isn't evil. He's lost. Be strong. Be smart. Be fair but firm. Love, Dad. Below the signature were two more signatures, Dale Hutchins, Pastor Jim Warren, witnesses, and a notary seal from the bank in Sheridan, dated August 10th. Legal proof that Dad wrote this, that he knew, that he prepared. I stood in that barn holding 3 pages that changed everything. That proved Travis had forged the codicil. That proved Dad had seen it coming. That proved I wasn't crazy for thinking something was wrong. But more than that, more than the proof, more than the evidence. It proved Dad had loved me, had trusted me, had protected me even knowing he wouldn't be there to help, had done everything he could from beyond the grave to make sure I got what I was owed. I folded the letter careful, put it in my jacket pocket, right over my heart, walked out of the barn into the cold November afternoon. Travis's truck was pulling into the driveway. He got out, saw me standing there by the barn, smiled, that easy smile, that brother smile, the one I'd trusted my whole life. Everything okay? He called. I looked at him, really looked, saw him clear, my brother, the person I'd grown up with, played with, fought with, learned from, loved. The person who'd forged our father's will, who'd planned to steal half my inheritance, who'd lied to my face not 2 hours ago, who thought he'd won. Yeah, I said, voice steady, marine steady, everything's fine. I walked past him toward the house, felt the letter against my chest, felt the weight of what came next, felt Dad's presence like a hand on my shoulder, guiding, teaching, showing me the way. Travis didn't know what I'd found, didn't know what I knew, thought the game was over, thought he'd won. But the game wasn't over, wasn't even close, it was just beginning. And I was going to play it Dad's way, patient, methodical, gathering evidence, building a case, then striking clean and final. Not for revenge, not for anger, not even for the land really. For Dad, for his memory, for his honor, for the promise he'd kept even after death. For the lesson he'd taught me when I was 8 years old standing in that pasture, with a rope in my hands learning to throw a loop that wouldn't come right. Hard things are hard because they matter. This mattered. And I wasn't quitting. Dad had taught me better than that. I didn't sleep that night. Lay in my old bedroom staring at ceiling cracks I'd memorized as a kid, counting them, tracing patterns, same cracks, same patterns, but everything different now. The letter sat on the nightstand, Dad's handwriting visible in the moonlight coming through the window, 3 pages that proved everything. That changed everything. At 5 in the morning I gave up trying, got dressed, went downstairs, made coffee in Dad's old percolator, the one he'd used every morning for 30 years, filled the kitchen with that smell, strong, dark, the way he liked it, the way he'd taught me to drink it, black. No sugar, coffee is coffee, he used to say. You want dessert, have dessert. But coffee is for waking up and getting to work. I sat at the kitchen table and read the letter again. Fourth time, fifth time. Let every word burn into memory. Dad's instructions were clear. Go to Judge Raymond Booth in Buffalo. He has the real will. The one dated March 2020. The one that splits everything 50-50. The one that represents Dad's true wishes. But something stopped me from just driving to Buffalo right then. Some instinct. Some tactical sense left over from the Marines. You don't rush into a situation without reconnaissance. Don't make your move until you know the terrain, until you've gathered all available intelligence, until you understand not just what happened but why. Travis had forged a will. That much was clear. But I needed to know how, needed to understand the whole picture, needed evidence that would stand up not just legally but in the court of family, in the court of this small Wyoming town where everyone knew everyone and reputation mattered more than money. I needed to know why my brother had looked me in the eye and lied. The sun came up orange over the mountains. I watched it through the kitchen window. Same view Dad had watched 10,000 times. Same light hitting the same peaks. The land didn't care about wills or inheritance or brothers fighting. The land just would be here long after we were all dust. Travis's truck pulled in around 7. I heard it before I saw it. That diesel engine with the bad injector he'd been meaning to fix for 6 months. Never got around to it. Always had something more important. Or maybe he just liked the familiar sound. The broken things we live with become comfortable after a while. He came most mornings to check cattle, to maintain the illusion that this was still a working ranch, that he was still the dutiful son taking care of everything, playing the role, wearing the mask. He walked in without knocking, never knocked. This was his house now, in his mind anyway, 85% his, saw me at the table, stopped. Something in his posture changed. Guard went up, like he could sense I knew something. "You're up early," he said. "Couldn't sleep." He poured himself coffee, used Dad's mug, the one with the ranch logo, the one Dad had used every morning for 20 years. Travis hadn't asked if he could use it, just took it, like he'd taken everything else. He sat across from me, same spot he'd sat in as a kid, to the left of where Dad always sat, me on the right, Mom at the far end when she was alive, family positions, locked in by decades of habit. We drank in silence, brothers like we'd done 1,000 times, Sunday mornings before church, early mornings before school, late nights after working cattle all day, but the silence felt different now, weighted, full of things unsaid, full of lies waiting to be exposed. I watched him over the rim of my mug, studied him. He looked tired, deep tired, the kind that comes from stress, not work, dark circles under his eyes, lines in his face that weren't there 2 years ago, hands shaking slightly when he lifted the coffee. A man carrying weight, carrying secrets, carrying guilt. "I've been thinking," Travis said, "about the will, about the split. I know it's hard, I know you're hurt." I said nothing, just waited, let the silence stretch, old interrogation technique. People can't stand silence, they fill it, say more than they meant to. "But Dad had his reasons," Travis continued. "He saw I was here, saw I was doing the work. He wanted to make sure the ranch stayed in good hands, hands that knew the land, that cared about it." The words sounded rehearsed, like he'd practiced them in front of a mirror, smoothed them out, made them reasonable, made himself the victim of circumstance instead of the architect of fraud. "When did he tell you," I asked, "about changing the will?" Travis took a long drink of coffee, bought himself time. His eyes went to the window, watched the sunrise, couple months back, August maybe. Said he'd been thinking about it, about what was fair, about legacy. August? Interesting. Dad's letter was dated August 10th. Written the same month Travis claimed Dad started talking about changing the will, almost like Dad had sensed it coming, had prepared, had seen his son circling like a vulture and decided to protect the other one. Did he seem confused, I asked, when he talked about it, like maybe he wasn't thinking clear, like maybe the decision wasn't really his? Travis's eyes narrowed, came back from the window, locked on mine. No, he was sharp, crystal clear, knew exactly what he wanted, there was no confusion. And you didn't think to tell me. Didn't think I deserved a heads up that Dad was planning to cut me out, that my inheritance was about to drop from 50% to 15. He said he'd talk to you himself, said it wasn't my place to get in the middle, said you two needed to work it out. Another lie, I could see it. In the way his eyes shifted left for just a second, in the way his hand tightened on the coffee mug, white knuckles, in the way his breathing changed. Shallow, quick, small tells, but there if you knew how to look, if you'd spent enough time reading enemy combatants trying to hide weapons or lies or fear. Did you go with him, I asked, to the lawyer's office, when he signed? Travis hesitated, just a fraction of a second, but I caught it. Yeah, he asked me to drive him, said his eyes were bothering him, didn't want to drive himself. What day was that? I don't remember exactly, September sometime. You don't remember the day Dad cut me out of my inheritance. That seems like something you'd remember. Travis's jaw tightened. It was just another day, Ethan, just paperwork. I didn't think it was a big deal. 15% of an 800-acre ranch isn't a big deal. I meant I didn't think you'd take it this hard. Thought you'd moved on, built a life in Cheyenne. Thought the ranch didn't matter to you anymore. It mattered, it always mattered. Travis looked away, stared into his coffee. Well, it's done now. Dad made his choice, we have to live with it. I need to run some errands today, I said, changed the subject. Let him think he'd convinced me. In town, you need anything. Travis relaxed, shoulders dropped, thought the subject was closed, thought I'd accepted his story, thought he'd won. No, I'm good, take your time, I've got work here anyway. I stood, rinsed my mug, washed it careful, dried it, put it back in the cabinet, not in the drainer, in its proper place, where it belonged, the way Dad taught me, a place for everything and everything in its place. Left Travis sitting at the table, felt his eyes on my back as I walked out, watching, wondering, starting to worry maybe. Drove into Sheridan, downtown, old buildings, brick and wood, the kind of town that looked the same for 50 years and would look the same for 50 more, parked in front of the county record's office. Small building, 2 stories. Woman at the desk looked up when I walked in. Help you, she said. I need to look at some public records, death certificates. She pointed to a computer terminal in the corner, all digitized now, just search by name. I sat down, pulled up the database, typed in Frank Morrison, Kyle Brennan's name on the codicil, one of the 2 witnesses who supposedly saw Dad sign. Results came up. 3 Frank Morrisons in the county. I narrowed it by age, found him. Frank James Morrison, born 1951. Died March 15, 2024. March 15th. 7 months before the codicil was supposedly signed. 7 months before he allegedly witnessed Dad's signature on September 22nd. I pulled up the death certificate, printed it. Cause of death, heart failure. Place of death, Sheridan Memorial Hospital. Next of kin, Sarah Morrison, wife. A dead man had witnessed the will. Impossible. Unless someone forged his signature. Unless someone knew Frank Morrison was dead and used his name anyway. Counted on nobody checking. I searched for Teresa Alvarez next, the second witness. Got 43 results, too many. Narrowed by age range. Still got 12. Without more information, I couldn't pin down which one. But Dad's letter said to investigate the witnesses, said they'd be fake. I printed everything, folded the papers, put them in my jacket. Next stop was the phone company. Small office on Main Street. Went in. Asked to speak to someone about account records. Young guy came out, early 20s. Name tag said Derek, how can I help you? I need phone records for my father's account. Franklin Cole. He passed away last week. I'm executor of the estate. I'm sorry for your loss. Let me pull that up. He typed, clicked, frowned. Actually, it looks like you're still listed as an authorized user on the account from back in 2019, so I can give you the records directly. Perfect, I need September's records. Calls made, received, times. He printed them, handed them over, 2 pages of line items, numbers, dates, times. I scanned through September 22nd, the day the codicil was supposedly signed. 3 calls that day, 7 in the morning to a number I recognized, the veterinary clinic in Buffalo, Dr. Chen's office, 9:15 to the feed store, 2 in the afternoon to Travis's cell phone. No calls to Richard Paulson, no calls to any law office, no calls to unknown numbers that might have been lawyers or witnesses or anyone involved in will preparation. But there was a call from Travis to an unknown number that morning, 9:03, 40-minute call. I wrote down the number. Can you tell me whose number this is? I asked Derek. He typed it in, came up as a business, Mountain Legal Documents, address in Casper. What kind of business? Looks like document preparation services, not a law firm, more like a place that helps people fill out forms. Legal forms, wills, contracts, that kind of thing. Can you print me the details? He did. I took the papers, thanked him, left. Mountain Legal Documents. Travis had called them the morning of September 22nd, the same day the codicil was supposedly signed. 40-minute conversation, long enough to give them information, long enough to tell them exactly what he needed, long enough to plan a forgery. The pieces were fitting together, the picture getting clearer, but I needed more, needed to talk to the witnesses themselves, needed to hear them say it. Kyle Brennan worked at an auto body shop on the south side of town. Big metal building. 3 bay doors open to let in the cold November air. Smell of paint and metal and engine grease thick enough to taste. Sound of pneumatic tools echoing off concrete. The kind of place where men worked with their hands and didn't ask too many questions. I found him in the second bay working on a Chevy truck. Older model, mid-90s, probably worth more in parts than whole. Kyle was under the hood. Older guy, maybe 50, 55. Covered in grease and sweat despite the cold, concentrating on whatever he was fixing. Kyle, I said. He looked up, saw me. Recognition took a second, then his face changed. Smile, automatic, the kind you give when you see someone you're supposed to know but don't really want to talk to. Ethan Cole. Hey man, sorry about your dad, hell of a thing, good man, best I ever knew. Thanks, you got a minute. He wiped his hands on a rag. Red shop rag, stained with years of oil and grease. Sure, what's up? Need some body work done. Not exactly. I need to talk to you about Dad's will. The smile faded a little, uncertainty crept in. His eyes darted toward the other bays, making sure no one was listening. Oh, yeah, that. Travis asked me to help with that. Tell me about it. Where were you? What did you see? Kyle looked uncomfortable, shifted his weight from one foot to the other, shoved the rag in his back pocket. We were at the lawyer's office. September. Your dad signed some papers, estate planning stuff. Travis asked me and Scott Rivers to witness. Said it was no big deal, just needed 2 signatures. You saw Dad sign. Well, yeah, I mean, he was there in the room. You saw his hand hold the pen, saw him write his name, saw the ink go on the paper. Kyle's eyes shifted, wouldn't quite meet mine. Look, man, it was quick, in and out. Travis said his dad needed witnesses for some paperwork, asked if we'd help out. We signed where he told us to sign. Did you read what you were signing? No, Travis said it was just formality. Lawyers need witnesses for everything. Said it was just standard procedure. So you signed a legal document without reading it, without knowing what it was, without asking any questions. Kyle's face reddened, defense rising. I was doing Travis a favor. We've been friends 20 years. Since high school, you don't question your friends, you help them. Even when helping them means committing fraud. I didn't commit nothing. I signed a paper, that's all. That paper changed my inheritance from 50% to 15%. That paper was a codicil to a will, based on a forged signature, and you were a witness to fraud. Kyle stepped back like I'd hit him. Wait, what? No, Travis said it was legit, said your dad wanted it. When exactly did this happen? What time of day? What did the lawyer's office look like? Kyle paused, thought, tried to remember, I don't know. Afternoon, maybe 3, 4 o'clock. September 22nd was a Sunday. Lawyers don't work Sundays. You remember working on a Sunday, driving to a lawyer's office on a Sunday afternoon. Kyle's face went pale, started putting pieces together. Actually, now that you mention it, I don't think it was at the lawyer's office. I think it was. He stopped, looked away, looked at anything but me. Where was it, Kyle? He sighed, deep sigh, defeated. Travis came by my house. Saturday maybe, or Sunday, had some papers. Said his dad had already signed but needed witnesses. Asked if I'd sign too. Said it was no big deal, 5 minutes tops. So you never saw Dad, never saw him sign anything, never were at a lawyer's office. You just signed a paper Travis brought you, at your house, on a weekend. Kyle looked miserable, like a kid caught stealing. Yeah, I guess. When you put it that way, I didn't think it mattered. Travis said everything was above board. Did you read what the paper said? Did you see it was a will, a codicil? Did you see what it changed? No, Travis had his hand over most of it. Just showed me the signature line, pointed where to sign. I signed, he left. Did you see Dad's signature on it? Did you recognize his handwriting? Kyle shook his head, didn't look, just signed and handed it back. I felt anger rise up, red and hot, wanted to grab Kyle, shake him, make him understand what he'd done, what his carelessness had cost, but I pushed it down. Getting mad at Kyle wouldn't help. He wasn't the villain, just a supporting character, a tool, used by someone smarter and more desperate. Kyle, I said, voice calm, controlled. That document you signed gave Travis 85% of the ranch. Cut me down to 15%, based on a forged signature and false witnesses. You helped him steal from me. Kyle's face went white, all the blood drained out. Oh Jesus, Ethan, I didn't know, I swear to God I didn't know. Travis said it was just paperwork, insurance stuff, estate planning. I thought I was helping him help his dad. I believe you, but you need to understand something. What you did was illegal. You witnessed a forged document, that's a crime, even if you didn't know. Am I going to jail? Not if you tell the truth, not if you help me fix this. What do you need? I need you to tell the truth, officially, on record, if it comes to that. Tell a judge exactly what you told me. That Travis brought you papers, that you never saw Dad, never saw him sign, just did a favor without asking questions. Kyle nodded, fast, eager. Yeah, of course, whatever you need. I'll sign a statement, I'll testify, whatever. I'm sorry, man, I'm really sorry. I feel like shit about this. Good, you should, but feeling bad doesn't fix it. Telling the truth does. I'll tell it, I swear. One more thing, did Travis pay you? Give you anything for signing? Kyle shook his head. No, just asked as a friend. I didn't want money, just wanted to help. That made it worse somehow. Kyle had helped commit fraud for free, out of loyalty, out of misplaced trust, made him more pathetic than criminal. I left him standing there, found Scott Rivers next. He worked construction, was on a job site framing a house on the east side. I pulled up, asked the foreman which one was Scott. He pointed. Scott was younger than Kyle. Early 40s, tall, lean, looked honest. That made it worse somehow. I walked up, introduced myself, asked if we could talk. We went to his truck, sat in the cab. I asked him the same questions, got the same answers. Travis brought papers to his house, asked him to sign as a witness, said it was for estate planning. Scott signed without reading, never saw Dad, never saw the document content, just did a favor for Travis. You understand what you signed? I asked. Scott shook his head. No idea. Travis said it was standard stuff. It was a will, changing my inheritance, based on a forged signature. Scott's jaw tightened. That son of a bitch, he used me. Yeah, he did. What do you need from me? The truth on record, if it comes to that. You got it, whatever you need. 2 witnesses, both confirming they never saw Dad sign anything, both confirming Travis brought them blank signature lines, both confirming they'd been used. That was evidence, real evidence, the kind that would hold up. I drove to Buffalo, small town 45 minutes north, found Maple Street, modest houses, well-kept lawns. Judge Raymond Booth's house was white with blue trim, American flag out front. I knocked. The door opened. Old man, 80-something, white hair, sharp blue eyes. He looked at me for a long moment. Ethan Cole, he said, you look just like your father. Judge Booth. Call me Ray, come in. His house was neat, books everywhere. Law books, history books, old leather chairs, smelled like pipe tobacco and old paper. We sat in his living room. I expected you'd come, he said. Frank told me you would. Told me if there was any dispute about his will, you'd be the one asking questions. I pulled out Dad's letter, showed it to him, he read it, nodded. Frank came to see me last August, said he was worried about Travis, said Travis was in trouble, gambling debts, money problems, said he thought Travis might try something, might try to forge documents, change the will. Did Dad say why he thought that? Ray leaned back in his chair. Travis had been asking questions about what the ranch was worth, about how wills worked, about what happened if someone contested an inheritance. Frank wasn't stupid. He saw where it was headed. So he prepared. He prepared, gave me the original will, the real one, dated March 2020, told me to keep it safe, told me that if anyone produced a different will, especially one that cut you out, I should trust you, should give you the original. Ray stood, walked to a safe built into the wall, old combination lock. He worked it, opened the door, pulled out a manila envelope. This is it, he said, Frank's true will, witnessed by me and another attorney, notarized, legal, everything split 50-50 between you boys. He handed it to me, I opened it, read it. There was Dad's signature, real signature, the flourish on the F, the upward sweep on Cole, the way he always wrote, no question. The terms were clear, 800 acres divided equally, all buildings, livestock, equipment split down the middle, fair, the way Dad had always said it would be. This supersedes anything else, Ray said. This is dated 4 years ago. Any amendment would have required my signature as witness since I witnessed the original. Frank insisted on that. It was a safeguard. If any codicil shows up without my signature, it's automatically invalid. Travis produced a codicil dated September, said Dad signed it with two witnesses, Kyle Brennan and Scott Rivers. Ray shook his head. I never witnessed any amendment, never even heard about one until now. That codicil is fraudulent. I've got proof. Frank Morrison, one of the supposed witnesses, died in March, 7 months before the date on the codicil. I've got his death certificate. Ray's eyes hardened. Then it's not just fraud, it's criminal fraud, forgery, theft. Your brother could go to prison. I know. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. He's still my brother. Ray studied me. Frank said you'd say that, said you had his sense of mercy. But he also said you had his sense of justice, that you'd do what's right even when it's hard. What would Dad want? Ray smiled. Sad smile. He'd want you to give Travis a chance. One chance to come clean, to admit what he did, to make it right. But if Travis refused, Frank would want you to fight, would want you to protect what's yours, would want you to stand up for truth. One chance. That felt right, felt like something Dad would do. Give a man a chance to own his mistakes, to choose redemption. But if he chose dishonesty, then you dealt with it. I took the will, thanked Ray, drove back to Sheridan with proof in my hands, the real will, the truth. But I didn't go straight to the ranch. Wasn't ready for that conversation yet. Needed time to think, to process, to figure out what came next. Instead, I drove to the cemetery. Small plot on a hill overlooking the valley. The same hill where we'd buried him 4 days ago. Felt like 4 years. Parked at the base, walked up the path, gravel crunching under boots. Cold November air biting at exposed skin. Sky gray, clouds moving in from the north. Snow coming maybe. First snow of the season. Dad always said the first snow told you what kind of winter you'd have. Heavy first snow meant hard winter. Light dusting meant mild. This looked heavy. The grave was easy to find. Fresh dirt, dark against the brown grass. Headstone not placed yet. Takes 6 months for the ground to settle before they'll set stone. Just a temporary marker, metal, simple. His name and dates stamped in. Franklin James Cole, 1952 to 2024. 72 years, not enough. Never enough. Mom's grave was 10 feet away. Catherine Ann Cole, 1954 to 1986. 32 years old when cancer took her. I was 12. Travis was 15. Dad was 34, too young to be a widower, too young to raise 2 boys alone, but he'd done it. Never complained, never remarried, never even looked at another woman, just stayed faithful to a memory. I sat on the ground between their graves, cold seeping through my jeans, didn't care, pulled out the real will, the fake codicil I'd copied at the courthouse, Dad's letter from the saddle, spread them out on the grass like evidence at a crime scene. You knew, I said out loud, talking to dirt and grass and a temporary marker, you saw it coming, saw Travis circling, saw him getting desperate, and you protected me, even knowing you wouldn't be here to help. The wind blew cold off the Bighorn Mountains. November wind, Wyoming wind, the kind that cuts through 3 layers and finds skin. The kind that reminds you winter is coming, that nothing stays warm forever, that everything dies eventually. I don't know what to do, Dad. He's my brother, your son. Same blood, same family, but he lied, he stole. He forged your name. He tried to take what's mine, what you promised me. No answer, just wind. Just the distant sound of a crow calling from the cottonwoods down by the creek. Just the rustle of dead grass, just silence. I thought about all the conversations we'd had, all the lessons, All the times Dad had taught me something without me knowing I was being taught. The way he'd handled disputes with neighbors, always fair, always hearing both sides, but never backing down from truth, never letting lies stand just to keep peace. You said give him a chance, I continued. One chance to do right, that's in your letter, so that's what I'll do. I'll give him one chance to confess, to come clean, to make it right. But if he lies again, if he doubles down, if he runs, then I'll fight. The way you taught me, I'll use this will, I'll expose everything. I'll take him to court and I'll win. I looked at Mom's grave, wondered what she would have said. She'd been gentler than Dad, more forgiving, more willing to see the best in people. Would she have wanted me to give Travis more than one chance? Would she have wanted me to just let it go, keep the family together no matter what? But she wasn't here, hadn't been here for 38 years. Dad had raised us the last half of our childhood. Dad's values were the ones that stuck, and Dad valued truth above peace, valued justice above comfort, valued doing right even when it cost you. I gathered the papers, folded them careful, put them back in my jacket, stood, knees stiff from sitting on cold ground, looked at both graves, my parents, gone, both of them, leaving me and Travis to figure out what came next, leaving us to either honor their memory or destroy it. I miss you, I said, both of you. Wish you were here to tell me what to do. Wish I could hear your voices one more time. But I couldn't. All I had were letters, memories, lessons learned in childhood, principles taught by example, values demonstrated through action, not words. Be fair but firm, that was Dad. Give mercy when possible, that was Mom, but demand truth, always demand truth, that was both of them. I walked back down the hill, got in my truck, sat for a minute looking up at the graves, two people who'd loved each other, who'd loved us, who'd done their best, who'd left us with land and values and the burden of deciding what to do with both. The snow started as I drove away. Light flakes at first, then heavier, covering the valley, covering the ranch, covering everything in white. First snow, heavy snow, hard winter coming. I drove back to the ranch as the sun started dropping toward the mountains. Orange light turned everything amber, made the whole valley glow. Beautiful, the kind of evening Dad loved. Travis's truck was still there. He was in the barn. I could see him through the open door, moving hay bales, working, keeping busy. I walked in, he looked up. "Hey," he said, "good day in town." "Productive." I watched him work for a minute. My brother, 3 years older, bigger than me, stronger in some ways but weaker in others. I'd looked up to him as a kid, wanted to be like him, wanted his approval. Now I just wanted him to tell the truth. "Travis," I said, "we need to talk." He set down the hay bale, wiped sweat from his forehead. "Okay, what's up?" "I want to see the witnesses today, Kyle and Scott." His face changed, just slightly, guard going up. "Yeah, what about them?" "They told me what really happened, that you brought them papers to sign, that they never saw Dad, never saw him sign anything, just did you a favor." Travis's jaw clenched. They misunderstood. "They were real clear. You had them sign blank witness lines. Then you attached those signatures to a forged will." "That's not what happened." I also checked the county records. Frank Morrison died in March, 7 months before he supposedly witnessed the codicil. Travis said nothing, just stared at me. "A dead man can't be a witness, Travis. You used his name, forged his signature, probably found old documents with his signature and copied it. You don't know what you're talking about." I went to Judge Booth, Dad's friend, the one who witnessed the real will, the will from March 2020, the one that splits everything 50-50. I pulled out the will, held it up. "This is the truth. This is what Dad really wanted. and any amendment to this will require Judge Booth's signature as witness. Dad made sure of that. Your codicil is worthless. Fraudulent. Travis's face went red, then white. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. You don't understand, he finally said. Then explain it to me. I'm in debt, bad debt. $80,000, maybe more, gambling, started small, got out of control. People I owe money to aren't patient people. So you decided to steal my inheritance. I needed the money, needed it fast. If I got the whole ranch, I could sell it, pay them off, start over. By screwing me. You left, you built a life somewhere else. I've been here, taking care of everything, taking care of him. He didn't want you to steal from me. He wanted us to share. That's why he hid the real will. That's why he wrote me a letter warning me about you. I pulled out Dad's letter, held it up. He knew Travis, knew you were in trouble, knew you might try this. He prepared. Travis stared at the letter, his face crumpled. He sat down hard on a hay bale. I didn't want to do it, he said, voice breaking. I didn't want to lie, didn't want to forge his name, but I was desperate. They threatened me, said they'd take everything, said they'd hurt me. So you hurt me instead. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. The words hung in the air. Sorry, like that fixed anything, like that made it okay. I've got two choices, I said. I can go to the sheriff right now, show him the evidence. The forged will, the fake witnesses, the dead man's signature. You'd be arrested, charged with fraud, forgery, theft. You'd go to prison. Travis looked up, eyes wet. Or you can confess. Tomorrow, we go to Paulson's office together. You admit you forged the codicil. We file the real will, split the ranch like Dad wanted. You sell your half, pay your debts, get help, and I don't press charges. Why would you do that, after what I did? Because Dad would want me to give you a chance. One chance. This is it. You lie to me again, you run, you try anything, I will bury you legally. But right now, right here, you can choose to do the right thing. Travis put his head in his hands, shoulders shaking. Years of desperation and fear and shame pouring out. My brother, broken, lost, but maybe not beyond saving. Okay, he said, okay, I'll confess, I'll make it right. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, Paulson's office, you and me, and Travis. If you're not there, I go to the sheriff. I'll be there. I walked out of the barn, left him sitting there, didn't look back, didn't trust myself to say anything else. Inside the house I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, looked at the evidence spread out in front of me, the real will, the fake codicil, the death certificate, the witness statements, Dad's letter. Everything I needed to win, everything I needed to expose the truth, everything I needed to get justice. But justice without mercy was just revenge, and revenge wouldn't bring Dad back, wouldn't heal this family, wouldn't make the ranch feel like home again. Dad had taught me that, not with words, with actions, with the way he'd handled things when they got hard, with the way he'd forgiven, given second chances, believed in redemption. I thought about Kyle and Scott, two guys who'd signed papers without thinking, who'd trusted a friend and got used. They'd agreed to tell the truth, to make it right. That took courage. I thought about Travis, sitting in that barn, finally admitting what he'd done, finally breaking. Was it real? Was it genuine? Or was he just scared of going to prison? I'd find out tomorrow, would know by whether he showed up, whether he followed through, whether he chose truth or kept running. My phone buzzed, text from an unknown number. I opened it. Stay out of this. You don't know what you're getting into. People Travis owes, don't forget. Don't forgive. Walk away while you can. I stared at the message. Anonymous, threatening. Someone knew I was asking questions. Someone knew I'd found evidence. Someone wanted me to stop. I deleted the text. Whoever sent it didn't know me, didn't know what the Marines taught me, didn't know what Dad taught me. You don't back down from threats. You face them. You stand your ground. You do what's right even when people try to scare you off. I finished my coffee, went upstairs, lay in bed, stared at the ceiling cracks. Tomorrow would tell. Tomorrow Travis would either show up and confess or he'd run. Either prove he still had some honor left or prove he was too far gone to save. And if he ran, I'd do what had to be done. Would take the evidence to the sheriff, would file the real will, would fight for every acre, every building, every dollar. Not because I wanted the money, not because I cared about winning. Because Dad had trusted me to protect the truth, had counted on me to stand up, had believed I was strong enough to do the hard thing. And I wasn't going to let him down. Outside the wind picked up, rattled the windows, made the old house creak. Same sounds from childhood, same wind that had blown across this valley for 10,000 years, same land that had supported Coles for 4 generations. The land didn't care about our problems, didn't care about forged wills or gambling debts or brothers fighting. The land just endured, just waited, just kept being what it was. Tomorrow I'd find out if Travis had any of that in him, any endurance, any truth, any courage to face what he'd done and try to make it right. Tomorrow I'd find out if my brother could be saved, or if I'd have to be the one to bring him down. I woke at 4:30, didn't need an alarm, body knew, mind knew, today was the day. Today Travis either showed up and confessed or he ran. Today I'd know if my brother had any honor left, any courage, any piece of the man Dad tried to raise him to be. Lay there in the dark listening, house settling around me. Same creaks I'd heard since childhood, the floorboard outside the bathroom, the window frame in the kitchen that contracted when temperature dropped, the way the wind found gaps in the siding and made them whistle. All familiar, all home, but everything different now. In 12 hours this would be over, one way or another. Either we'd be filing the real will and starting the process of splitting the ranch fair, of undoing Travis's fraud, of implementing Dad's actual wishes, or I'd be filing criminal charges, calling the sheriff, handing over evidence, watching my brother get arrested, watching him get cuffed and put in a car and driven away. Both outcomes hurt. One hurt more than the other, but both hurt. Got up, bare feet on cold wood floor, walked to the window, pulled back the curtain, dark still, stars massive, Wyoming stars, the kind you never see in cities, the kind that make you feel small and huge at the same time. Small because you're just one person under all that infinity. Huge because you're here, you exist. You matter to someone even if the universe doesn't care. Dad used to stand at this window, same spot, same view. I'd find him here sometimes at dawn, just standing, looking out, thinking about whatever ranchers think about, cattle prices, water levels, weather patterns, the weight of keeping everything going, the burden of legacy. Now it was my turn, my window, my view, my burden. Made coffee in the dark, didn't turn on lights, liked the darkness, liked the quiet, needed the space to think, to prepare, to steel myself for what came next. Sat at the kitchen table, Dad's chair, the wood worn smooth where his elbows rested, the seat shaped to his body, too big for me. I wasn't as broad as he'd been, wasn't as solid, but I sat there anyway, felt him around me, felt his presence. What would you do, I asked the darkness, if you were here? If you could tell me what comes next, would you want me to go through with this? Want me to expose Travis? Want me to stand firm even if it destroys him? No answer, just coffee smell, just house sounds, just my own thoughts circling. But I knew, deep down I knew, Dad would want truth, would want honor, would want the right thing done even if it cost everything. He'd proven that with the letter, with hiding the real will, with preparing for exactly this moment. He'd known it would hurt, known it would tear the family, but he'd done it anyway because truth mattered more than comfort. The sun came up slow, first just a hint of gray in the east, then pink, then orange spreading across the sky like spilled paint, hitting the mountains, turning them gold, then fire, then settling into that clear blue that meant cold and wind and a long day ahead. Beautiful morning, the kind that made you glad to be alive, the kind that reminded you why people settled here, why they stayed despite the harsh winters and the hard work and the isolation, because mornings like this made everything worth it. I showered, hot water beating down, washing away yesterday, washing away doubt, washing away everything but resolve, got out, dried off, stood in front of the mirror. Looked at my face, 45 years old, lines around the eyes from squinting into sun and wind, gray creeping into the beard, scar on the left eyebrow from a bar fight in Kandahar, another scar on the chin from falling off a horse at 8, life written on skin. Dad's eyes looked back at me, same color, same shape, same way of looking that saw through bullshit and got to truth. Mom's nose, her cheekbones, but mostly Dad. Dressed careful, clean jeans, pressed shirt. The blue one Dad had bought me 3 Christmases ago, his leather jacket. The good one he wore to church and weddings and funerals, smelled like him still. Old Spice and leather and something else. Something that was just Dad, just the way he existed in the world. Put the real will in the inside pocket, Dad's letter in the other pocket, patted them both through the leather, felt their weight, felt their truth, felt Dad's hands guiding mine, helping, supporting, even though he was gone. "You ready for this?" I asked my reflection. The man in the mirror didn't answer, just looked back, steady, determined, scared but not backing down, ready as he'd ever be. I drove into Sheridan at 8:30, gave myself time, didn't want to rush, didn't want to be late, wanted to be there, waiting, watching when Travis either walked in that door or didn't. Parked across from Paulson's office, same spot as before, could see the entrance from here, could see anyone coming or going, sat in my truck, engine off, heat fading, cold seeping in, watched the door. 8:45, no Travis. 8:50, no Travis. 8:55, still no Travis. My phone rang, I looked at it. Travis's name on the screen, my gut clenched. He was calling, not showing up, calling to make excuses, to ask for more time, to beg off, to run. I answered, said nothing, just waited. Ethan, Travis's voice came through. Rough, like he'd been crying or hadn't slept. "I'm here, I'm in the parking lot, I'm coming in, just needed a minute." I looked, saw his truck 2 spaces down. How had I missed it? How long had he been sitting there, gathering courage, making himself do this? "Okay," I said, "I'll meet you inside." I got out, walked to the door. Travis got out of his truck. We met on the sidewalk, didn't speak, just stood there for a second, brothers, about to walk into a room and blow up our family, about to tell the truth that would change everything. Travis looked terrible, eyes red, face pale, hands shaking. He was wearing his good shirt, the one from the funeral, like this was another burial, another ending. We walked up the stairs together, same creaking wood, same old building, same cracked leather chairs waiting, but everything different now. Paulson was already there, sitting at his desk, papers organized in front of him. He looked up when we walked in, saw both of us, saw something in our faces. His expression changed. Guard went up, lawyer instincts kicking in. "Gentlemen," he said, "I wasn't expecting both of you. Is there something we need to discuss?" I pulled out Judge Booth's will, the real one, set it on the desk. Then I pulled out the fake codicil, set it next to the real will, then Dad's letter, then the death certificate for Frank Morrison. Then the witness statements from Kyle and Scott. Laid it all out. Evidence, truth, everything. "Mr. Paulson," I said, "we have a problem with the codicil Travis filed last week." Paulson looked at the documents, looked at Travis, back to the documents. "What kind of problem?" Travis stood there, silent, frozen. This was his moment, his chance. Speak now or lose everything. "The codicil is fraudulent," I said. "When Travis didn't speak, I kept going. My father never signed it. The witnesses never saw him sign it. One of the witnesses has been dead for 7 months. The whole thing is forged." Paulson's face went hard. "Is this true, Travis?" Travis opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. His voice came out barely above a whisper. "Yes." Paulson sat back in his chair, hard, like I'd punched him. "You committed fraud in my office. You brought me a forged document and asked me to file it as legitimate." "I didn't mean to," Travis said, voice breaking. "I was desperate. I owed money, bad money, to bad people. I needed the ranch, needed to sell it, needed to pay them before they—" He stopped, couldn't finish. Paulson looked at me. "Does Ethan know everything?" "He knows," Travis said. "He figured it out, investigated, found the truth, found the real will, the one Dad actually signed." Paulson picked up Judge Booth's will, read it, took his time, every page, every line. When he finished, he set it down careful. "This is legitimate. I recognize Ray Booth's signature, recognize the notary seal. This is from 2020, 4 years ago." "It's the real one," I said, "and it has a safeguard clause. Any amendments require Judge Booth's signature as witness. The codicil Travis filed doesn't have that, can't have that, because it's fake." Paulson looked at Travis. "You understand what you've done. This is felony fraud, forgery. I'm obligated to report this to the state bar, to the police." "Please," Travis said, "please don't. I'm confessing. I'm making it right. We're here to file the real will, to withdraw the fake one, to do what Dad actually wanted." Paulson studied both of us. Long silence. Clock ticking on the wall. Same clock that had ticked through 1,000 meetings, 1,000 wills, 1,000 families trying to figure out what came next after someone died. "Why are you doing this, Ethan?" Paulson asked. "Why not just press charges, take him down? You have every right, every reason." "Because my father would want me to give him a chance. One chance to do right. This is it." Paulson looked at Travis. "And you, why confess? Why not run, leave town, start over somewhere?" "Because I'm tired of running," Travis said. "Tired of lying, tired of being scared. I did something terrible, unforgivable, but maybe if I own it, if I face it, maybe I can start being the man Dad wanted me to be." Paulson was quiet for a long time. Finally he spoke. "I won't report this, but only because your father was my friend, because I think he'd want mercy if there was genuine repentance. But Travis, you're banned from this office, from my practice, and if you ever try anything like this again, anywhere, I will personally ensure you're prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law." "I understand," Travis said. "Thank you. We'll file the real will today, start probate proceedings. It'll take 60 days to finalize, but the outcome is clear, 50-50 split, as Frank intended." Paulson started gathering papers, making notes, doing the legal work that would undo the fraud, that would restore truth, that would honor Dad's actual wishes. "There's one more thing," Paulson said. "During probate, we'll need to catalog all assets, land, buildings, equipment, water rights, everything. Make sure both of you understand what you're inheriting, what you're splitting." "Water rights," I said. "What water rights?" Paulson looked surprised. "You don't know? Your father owned water rights to 3 underground springs on the property, separate from the land ownership. In Wyoming, water rights can be bought and sold independently. They're quite valuable." How valuable? Paulson pulled a file, flipped through, based on the last appraisal. 1.5 million, maybe more depending on development interest. I felt my stomach drop. 1.5 million in water rights that I didn't know about, that Travis probably didn't know about either. Are those included in the 50-50 split? Travis asked, voice hopeful, desperate. Paulson read through more papers. Actually, no, according to these documents, filed in July of this year. Your father transferred the water rights into a separate revocable trust. The beneficiary is, he looked up at me, Ethan Cole, exclusively. The room went quiet. Could hear both of us breathing. Could hear the clock. Could hear traffic outside on the street below. What Travis said, what do you mean exclusively? I mean the water rights belong to Ethan, not to the estate, not to be split. They were transferred out before your father died, legal, binding, separate from the will entirely. Paulson pulled out the documents, showed us, Dad's signature from July 15th, 3.5 months before he died, transfer of underground water rights to irrevocable trust, beneficiary Ethan James Cole. There was a note attached, in Dad's handwriting. I recognized it immediately. Read it out loud so Travis could hear. Ethan, in Wyoming, whoever controls the water controls the land. I'm giving you the water rights separate from the ranch split. This guarantees you can build, develop, use the north pasture like we planned. It also means your brother can't sell his half to developers without your cooperation. Without access to water, his half is worth 40% less. This keeps the ranch intact, keeps you in control, keeps it in the family. Use it wisely. Love, Dad. Travis sat down heavy, face white. You have the water rights, all of them. All of them. That means my half, my 400 acres, without water access. Worth a lot less, Paulson confirmed. You could sell it, but any buyer would need to negotiate water access with Ethan, pay him for usage, or buy water rights separately from someone else, which is expensive and complicated. Your half is still valuable, but not as valuable as you thought. Travis put his head in his hands. Oh God, even the fair split isn't fair. Even doing it right, I still end up with less. No, I said, you end up with exactly what you deserve. 400 acres, 50% of the buildings, 50% of the equipment, 50% of the livestock. What Dad promised you. The water rights were always separate, always mine. Dad planned it that way. To trap me, to make sure I couldn't sell. To protect the ranch, to make sure it stayed in the family, to make sure whoever got it actually worked it, actually cared about it, not just saw it as cash. Travis looked at me, years of resentment in his eyes. You always were his favorite. That's not true. He gave you the water, the most valuable thing. He knew I needed money, knew I was in debt, and he made sure I couldn't get it. He knew you'd gamble it away, knew you'd sell the ranch to pay debts you shouldn't have made, knew you'd destroy everything he built, so he protected it, protected me, protected the land. By screwing me. By being smart, by thinking ahead, by loving you enough to save you from yourself. Travis stood up, grabbed his coat. I need air, I can't, I need air. He walked out, door slamming behind him, left me sitting there with Paulson and a pile of documents that told the whole story. That showed how Dad had seen it all coming, had prepared, had protected, had made sure the truth would win. Paulson looked at me. Your father was a shrewd man. He was a good man. There's a difference. Is there? He manipulated the situation, made sure you got the leverage, made sure Travis couldn't do what Travis wanted. He made sure the ranch survived, made sure it stayed in the family, made sure it went to someone who'd work it. That's not manipulation, that's wisdom. Paulson gathered the papers, filed them, made copies, did all the legal things lawyers do. When he finished, he handed me a folder. "This is yours. Water rights documentation, trust papers, everything legal and binding. You now officially control the most valuable resource in this valley." I don't want it for control. I want it for building, for living, for raising a family. Then use it for that. And if your brother comes around, if he actually changes, you can work something out. Let him use water, charge him fair rates, keep him connected to the land or not. It's your choice now. I left the office with a folder full of papers and a brother who'd walked out angry. Stood on the sidewalk, looked for Travis's truck. It was gone. He'd left, driven off, couldn't handle the truth, couldn't face what Dad had done. My phone buzzed, text message, unknown number, same one from last night. "You should have walked away. Now you've made enemies. People Travis owes don't forget. They'll come for what's owed, and they'll go through you to get it." I stared at the message. Someone was watching. Someone knew I'd gone to the lawyer, knew I'd exposed the fraud, knew about the water rights maybe. Someone connected to Travis's debts. I texted back, "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again, then a response. "Someone trying to help you. Travis owes $80,000 to people who don't take no for an answer. They expected him to pay with ranch money. Now he can't. They'll look for other ways, other collateral, like a brother with water rights worth $1.5 million. Watch your back." The message deleted itself, just vanished, like it had never been. Burner phone probably, untraceable. I got in my truck, locked the doors, sat there thinking. Travis had borrowed from dangerous people, people who expected payment, people who'd seen the ranch as collateral. Now that collateral was split, devalued, not enough to cover the debt. Which meant they'd come looking for the other half. For my half, for the water rights, for anything worth taking. I needed to know who these people were, needed to understand the threat, needed to protect myself, protect the ranch, protect what Dad had left me. I drove to Travis's house, small place on the edge of town. Rental. He'd sold his own house 2 years ago, paid debts then too probably, stayed in this cycle of borrow and lose, borrow and lose. His truck was in the driveway. I knocked. No answer, knocked again, harder. The door opened. Travis stood there, eyes red, bottle of whiskey in his hand. 11 in the morning and he was drinking. "What do you want?" he said. "We need to talk, about who you owe, about the threats I'm getting." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Someone's been texting me, warning me, saying the people you owe money to will come after me, after the water rights. I need to know who they are." Travis laughed, bitter sound, no humor in it. "You really want to know? You really want to step into this?" "Yeah, I do." He stepped back, let me in. The house was a mess. Empty bottles, dirty dishes, clothes everywhere. Looked like a man who'd given up, who'd stopped caring. We sat at his kitchen table, same position as every conversation, him across from me, both of us trying to figure out how we got here. "I owe money to Marcus Webb," Travis said. "Runs an underground gambling operation out of Billings. Cards, sports betting, some loan sharking on the side. I started small. Weekend poker games, then bigger games. Then I was into him for 10,000. He said he'd stake me. Let me play higher stakes to win it back. I lost, went deeper. 20,000, 40, 60, 80. And he expected you to pay. He expected the ranch. I told him my dad was old, sick, would die soon, told him I'd inherit, sell it, pay him everything plus interest. He gave me time based on that promise. But now you can't deliver. Now I can only give him half, and half without water is worth, what, $1 million maybe, after paying off the mortgage, after splitting costs. I'd walk away with maybe 400,000. Still owe him 80. That leaves 320, barely enough to start over. So he's going to come after me for the difference. He's going to come after the water rights, try to force you to sell them, or force you to give them up. Or Travis stopped. Or what? Or worse, Marcus doesn't play nice. People who don't pay, people who make promises and break them, they don't just lose money, they lose teeth, fingers, sometimes more. You brought this to our door, to Dad's legacy. You put me in danger because you couldn't stop gambling. Travis's face crumpled. I know, I'm sorry. I didn't think, didn't plan, just kept hoping I'd win. Kept hoping I'd get lucky, kept making it worse. When are they coming? I don't know, soon probably. Marcus gave me until the end of November, 3 weeks. If I don't pay by then, he comes to collect. I stood up, started pacing, trying to think, trying to plan. 3 weeks. Travis owed $80,000 to a loan shark who expected payment, who'd been promised a ranch, who was now going to get half of one, who might come after me for the difference. I need to meet him, I said. What? No, Ethan, no. You don't want to meet Marcus. You don't want to get involved. I'm already involved. He's threatening me, texting me, watching me. I need to face this head on. Need to make it clear I'm not going to be pushed around. He'll hurt you. Let him try. I'm not some weekend gambler who folds under pressure. I'm a Marine. I've faced worse than some small-town loan shark. Travis shook his head. You don't understand. Marcus isn't alone. He's got people. Guys who do the dirty work. Guys who don't care about honor or fairness or any of that. They just hurt people for money. Then I'll be ready. But I'm not hiding, not running, not letting him think he can intimidate me into giving up what's mine. What are you going to do? I'm going to Billings, tonight, going to find Marcus Webb, going to have a conversation, man to man, make it clear that the water rights aren't negotiable, that Travis's debt is Travis's problem, that if he wants payment, he works with Travis, not me. Ethan, please don't. Just give him time. I'll figure something out. I'll sell my half, pay him what I can, work out a payment plan for the rest. You've been saying that for 2 years. Time to face it. Time to deal with it. Time to be a man. I left Travis sitting at his kitchen table, drove back to the ranch, spent the afternoon preparing, thinking through scenarios, thinking through what I'd say, how I'd handle it, how I'd make it clear I wasn't someone to be pushed. Called an old Marine buddy, Jake Morrison, not related to the dead Frank Morrison, different family. Jake had stayed in, worked security now, knew people, knew how to handle situations. I need backup, I told him. Going to Billings tonight, meeting a lone shark, need someone watching just in case. Jake was quiet for a second. You serious? Dead serious. Give me the address. I'll be there, 2 hours away, but I'll make it. I gave him what information I had, told him I'd text details when I had them, told him to stay invisible unless things went bad, then come in hard. Hung up. Felt better knowing someone had my back, even if I was walking into a bad situation, even if this was stupid. Sometimes you had to face things head on, couldn't run, couldn't hide, had to stand up. That's what Dad would have done, would have walked straight into the fire, would have looked danger in the eye and said not one step further. I cleaned Dad's rifle, the one over the mantel, checked it, loaded it, put it in the truck, not planning to use it, but not planning to be unarmed either. Wyoming law, you could carry in your vehicle, could carry for protection, could defend yourself if threatened. Drove to Billings as the sun set, hour and a half north, called Travis from the road, got the address, underground poker room in the warehouse district, told him I was going, told him to stay put, told him I'd handle it. Travis begged me not to, said it was suicide, said Marcus would kill me, said I was throwing my life away. Then you should have thought of that before you borrowed money from him, before you gambled away everything, before you dragged me into this. Hung up, kept driving, watched the mountains disappear behind me, watched the plains open up, vast, empty, beautiful in a harsh way. This was Montana country, Wyoming country, Big Sky country, where men handled their own problems, where you didn't call the cops, you handled it yourself. Found the address, old warehouse, brick building from the 20s or 30s, 3 stories, windows boarded up with plywood gray from weather and age, graffiti on the lower walls, tags and symbols I didn't recognize, urban decay, the kind of place that had been something once, manufacturing maybe, storage. Now it was just a shell, a place for things that happened in shadows. Door was in an alley, narrow space between buildings, garbage bins, broken glass, smell of urine and rot, no sign, no lights, just an address spray painted on brick. This was the place. I sat in my truck for a minute, gathering myself, thinking through what I'd say, how I'd position myself, how I'd make it clear I wasn't afraid even though part of me absolutely was. Fear is useful, keeps you sharp, keeps you alive. It's when you ignore fear that you make mistakes. Texted Jake, here, warehouse district, corner of 5th and Railway, stay back unless I signal. His response came fast, got you, I'm 2 blocks west. Green Ford F-150, say the word and I'm there, got your 6. Military speak, had my back, made me feel better knowing someone was watching, even if this went bad, even if Marcus decided to make an example, at least someone would know, would tell the story, would make sure it didn't just disappear. Got out, locked the truck, left the rifle under the seat. Wouldn't do me any good in close quarters anyway. Would just escalate things, make them defensive, make them violent. This was about words, about presence, about showing strength without proving it. Walked to the door, each step deliberate, steady, not rushing, not hesitating, just moving forward because forward was the only direction that made sense. Knocked hard 3 times, deliberate, confident, not asking permission, demanding entry. A slot opened at eye level, steel scraping on steel, eyes looked out. Young guy, maybe 25, hard eyes, the kind that had seen things, done things, eyes that evaluated threat level automatically. Who are you, he said, voice flat, professional. Ethan Cole, Travis Cole's brother, here to see Marcus Webb. The slot closed. I waited, heard voices inside, muffled, arguing maybe, or just discussing, deciding whether to let me in or send me away, whether I was worth Marcus's time or just another problem to handle. Then locks turning, 3 of them, heavy deadbolts, security that said what happened inside was serious, was protected, was not for public view. The door opened. Big guy stood there, 6'4" easy, maybe 250, all muscle, neck like a tree trunk, arms that looked like he could tear a phone book in half, tattoos covering both forearms. Prison ink. The kind you get inside when you've got time and connections and nothing better to do. He stepped aside, gestured in, didn't speak, didn't need to. The message was clear, come in, but understand, you're in our world now, our rules, our control. I walked in, door shut behind me, locks turning again, sealing me in, no easy exit now, committed. Inside was dim, low lights, bulbs hanging from cords, smoke thick in the air, cigarette smoke mostly, but something else too, weed probably, maybe other things, smelled like cigarettes and beer and sweat and money. That metallic smell money has when you handle a lot of it, when it's been in a lot of pockets, a lot of hands. Poker tables set up, 6 of them, men at each one, cards, chips, but mostly cash, actual bills, hundreds, 50s, stacks of them, More money on those tables than I'd see in 6 months of honest work. Maybe a year. The men looked up when I walked in, evaluated, dismissed, went back to their games. I wasn't a threat to them, wasn't a player, just someone passing through, someone with business elsewhere. In the back at a table by himself sat Marcus Webb. I knew it was him before anyone said anything, before anyone pointed. He had that presence, that energy, the kind of guy who doesn't need to announce himself. You just know, you feel it. He was maybe 50, thin, wiry, like a greyhound, all tendon and muscle and efficiency, sharp features, angular face, cheekbones that could cut glass, eyes that were pale, gray maybe, or blue so light they looked almost colorless, eyes that calculated everything, measured everyone, assessed value and threat and usefulness in about 2 seconds. He looked up when I walked in, smiled, thin smile, no warmth, no friendliness, just acknowledgement, just recognition that something interesting had walked in his door, something that might be entertaining. "Ethan Cole," he said, voice quiet, cultured almost. Not what I expected rough, expected street. This was educated, controlled, dangerous in a different way, in a way that thought through consequences, that planned, that executed with precision. "Heard a lot about you," he continued. "Travis talks. A lot, especially when he's losing, especially when he's desperate. Tells me all about his little brother. The Marine, the one who got out, who built a life, who came back just in time for Daddy to die." I walked to his table, each step measured, not fast, not slow, just steady, showing I wasn't intimidated, wasn't backing down, wasn't going to play games. Sat down without being invited, across from him, met his eyes, held them, let him see I wasn't impressed, wasn't scared, was here to do business and then leave. "Let's talk about Travis's debt," I said. Marcus leaned back in his chair, pulled out a cigarette case. Silver, engraved, expensive, opened it, took out a cigarette, lit it with a Zippo, took a long drag, blew smoke toward the ceiling, taking his time, making me wait, establishing control. "Sure," he said finally, "let's talk. Your brother owes me $80,000 plus interest. It's been accruing for 18 months now, 3% monthly. Compound, that's another 32,000. Call it an even 112. He promised me a ranch, 800 acres, worth 2.4 million. Said he'd inherit when Daddy died. Said he'd sell it, pay me in full with interest. Now I hear the situation's changed, that he's only getting half. That the half he's getting is worth less than expected. That's a problem for me." "That's Travis's problem," I said, "not mine." Marcus took another drag, studied me through the smoke. "See, that's where you're wrong. When someone owes me money and can't pay, it becomes everyone's problem. Family, friends, partners, anyone with anything worth taking. I do my research, I know about the water rights. Know they're worth 1.5 million, know they're in your name, separate from the estate. Know that Travis can't touch them, but you can, and you're going to sell them, going to give me the money. Going to clear your brother's debt. The water rights aren't for sale. Everything's for sale, just a matter of price. How much is your brother's safety worth? How much is your own safety worth? How much is peace of mind worth? Are you threatening me? I'm explaining reality. I have $112,000 invested in your family. I expect return on that investment, one way or another. I'm not picky about how I get it. Cash is preferable, but assets work. Property works. Water rights work real nice." I leaned forward, kept my voice level, calm, no anger, no fear, just facts. Here's my reality. The water rights are my inheritance, my father's legacy. They're not negotiable. They're not for sale, not to you, not to anyone. Travis made bad choices. Travis borrowed money he couldn't pay back. Travis's problem, not mine. Marcus's smile faded, just a little, just enough to show I'd hit something. He wasn't used to people saying no, wasn't used to resistance. Probably most people folded. Gave him what he wanted, bought peace even if it cost them everything. "You know what I like about you," he said. Voice colder now, edge to it. "You got spine walking in here. No backup. No weapon that I can see, just balls and attitude. That's respectable in a way, takes courage. But it's also profoundly stupid. Because courage without wisdom gets people hurt, gets people dead. Maybe, but I needed you to understand something. I'm not Travis. I don't gamble, I don't borrow, I don't make promises I can't keep. I don't fold when pressured. And I sure as hell don't give up what's mine because someone threatens me. You think you're tough because you were a Marine." Marcus's voice had gone quiet, dangerous quiet. The kind of quiet that comes right before violence. "I've broken Marines before. I've broken soldiers and cops and tough guys of every variety. They all bleed the same. They all scream the same. They all beg the same when it gets bad enough." Probably true, but before you try, understand this. I'm not hidden, I'm not secret. I've got lawyers who know I'm here. I've got documentation about this meeting, about your threats. I've got friends in law enforcement. County sheriff knows my family. State police know my record. You come after me, it won't be quiet, won't be clean, won't be some guy who just disappears. It'll be public. It'll be investigated. It'll be legal heat you don't want. Federal attention because of the interstate nature. Because water rights involve federal regulations. You'll have every agency from here to D.C. looking at your operation. Marcus's jaw tightened. That's quite a speech. That's a fact. You want your money, you work with Travis. He sells his half of the ranch, pays you what he can. 60% probably, call it $600,000 after costs. You take that and work out a payment plan for the rest. Give him time, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. He pays you monthly, stays current. You get your money plus interest. Everybody wins. And if he defaults, then you have that conversation with him. You work it out. You repossess his assets, his half of the ranch, his truck, his whatever, but you leave me out of it. You leave the water rights alone. You leave my property alone. You leave my half of everything alone. His debt, his consequences. We stared at each other. Long moment. Whole room had gone quiet. Everyone watching, waiting to see what Marcus would do, whether he'd back down or escalate, whether I'd walk out or get dragged out, whether this ended peaceful or violent. Finally Marcus laughed, broke the tension. "I like you, Ethan. You got style, got courage, okay, deal. Travis pays me from his half, works out the rest over time. I leave you alone, but if he defaults, if he misses payments, all bets are off, and I will come collecting." Fair enough. I stood up, walked to the door. Big guy opened it, let me out. I didn't look back, just walked, steady, calm, like I wasn't scared, like my heart wasn't pounding, like I hadn't just gambled everything on a bluff. Got to my truck, got in, locked the doors, sat there shaking, adrenaline wearing off, reality setting in. I just threatened a lone shark in his own place, surrounded by his people, and somehow walked out. Texted Jake, "I'm out, all good, thanks for backup." His response, "You're crazy. Glad you're alive, beer's on you." Drove back to Sheridan, hands shaking on the wheel, couldn't believe what I'd just done, couldn't believe it had worked, but it had, for now, for tonight. Marcus had agreed, had backed down, had given me space. But I knew it wasn't over, knew Travis would have to pay, knew the threat would linger, knew that one missed payment and Marcus would be back, would come for everything, would make good on every threat. Got home after midnight. House dark, cold, empty. Went inside, sat at the kitchen table, Dad's chair, thought about everything that had happened, everything that was still coming. Tomorrow we'd continue probate, would start the process of dividing the ranch, of splitting everything 50-50, of implementing Dad's wishes, of honoring his legacy. But tonight I'd face down a demon, Travis's demon, The monster he'd created through bad choices and weakness, and I'd won for now. Put my head down on the table, felt exhaustion wash over me, felt the weight of it all, the weight of Dad's death, of Travis's betrayal, of the ranch, of the water rights, of the threats, of everything. But also felt something else, felt pride, felt strength, felt Dad's presence, felt like maybe, just maybe, I was doing this right, was handling it the way he would have wanted, with courage, with fairness, with mercy where possible, but with strength where necessary. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new problems, new decisions, but tonight I'd stood my ground, had protected what was mine, had honored what Dad had given me. And that was enough. Probate took 60 days. The law required it. Time for creditors to come forward. Time for disputes to surface. Time for the reality of death to settle into paperwork and signatures and legal finality. I spent those 60 days living in the house. Dad's house. My house now, half mine anyway, waiting, planning, trying to figure out what came next. Travis came by twice a week. We'd meet at the property line, talk about cattle, about fences, about the weather, safe topics, surface topics, the kind of conversation you have with neighbors, not brothers, not family, but it was something, better than silence, better than hate. He was selling his half, had it listed with a realtor in Sheridan. Big sign at the end of his driveway, 400 acres, prime grazing land, house and barn included. Offers started coming in. Developers mostly, looking to subdivide, turn ranch land into 5-acre ranchettes for California money looking to play cowboy on weekends. Travis turned them all down, held out for a real rancher, someone who'd work the land, keep it whole. Took him 5 weeks, but he found one, family from Nebraska, father and 2 sons, looking to expand, new cattle, new land, knew what they were getting. Sold for $1.1 million. After paying off the mortgage and splitting costs with me for shared equipment, Travis walked away with $630,000. Gave Marcus Webb $400,000. Kept $230,000 for himself. Enough to start over, if he was careful, if he didn't gamble it away. The day the sale closed, Travis came to see me. Late afternoon, December now, snow on the ground. First real snow of winter, 4 inches, clean, white, made everything look new. He knocked, I let him in. We stood in the kitchen, awkward like strangers. "It's done," he said. "Sold, closed this morning. Marcus is paid, most of him anyway. Still owe him $60,000 on a payment plan. Monthly installments, 5 years, but I'm current. First payment made today." "That's good. I'm moving to Billings. Got a job lined up, equipment repair, ranch equipment mostly. Place that rebuilds tractors and combines. Owner knew Dad. Gave me a shot based on his name. Said if I work hard, keep clean, there's future there." "Good, that's real good, Travis." He looked around the kitchen. At the table where we'd eaten breakfast as kids. At the stove where Mom used to make pancakes. At the window where Dad used to stand drinking coffee and watching the sun come up. "I'm sorry," Travis said, "for all of it, for the gambling, for the lying, for forging Dad's name, for trying to steal from you. I was wrong. I was weak. I was everything Dad taught us not to be." "I know. Do you forgive me?" I thought about it, really thought. Forgiveness isn't something you just say. It's something you feel, something that happens over time, something that grows when you let it. "I'm working on it," I said. "Ask me again in a year." Travis nodded. "Fair enough. That's more than I deserve." He turned to go, stopped at the door. "The north pasture, you building there, like Dad wanted?" "Yeah, starting in spring, soon as the ground thaws." "Good, that's real good. He'd be happy about that, happy you're staying." Travis left. I watched his truck drive away, taillights disappearing down the road. My brother, moving to Billings, starting over, trying to be better. Time would tell if it stuck. Time would tell if the change was real or just fear of consequences. I spent that winter planning. Drew up house plans, nothing fancy, 2,000 square feet, timber frame, stone fireplace, wrap-around porch. Simple, honest. The kind of house Dad would have built if he'd had the time and money. Found a contractor in Sheridan, local guy. Mike Patterson, no relation to Judge Booth, different Patterson. He'd worked with Dad before. Built the equipment shed 15 years ago. Knew the land, knew what worked in Wyoming weather. We walked the north pasture together. Snow crunching under boots. Sky gray, temperature in the teens. Wind cutting through layers, but Mike didn't complain, just looked, studied, planned. "This is good land," he said. "Good building site. Creek close for water, trees for windbreak, view of the mountains. Your dad had good eye for this. He picked it out when I was 8. Said someday I'd build here, raise a family here." Well, let's make it happen. Ground'll thaw by April. We can pour foundation in May. Have you framed and dried in by August. Finished by October if weather cooperates. I want to help, want to work on it. Mike looked at me, studied. Most owners say that, most get in the way. I worked construction in Cheyenne, know my way around a job site, and this isn't just a house. This is Dad's promise, want to build it with my own hands. Mike nodded. All right then, we'll do it together, but you follow my lead. I'm liable if something goes wrong. Deal. We shook hands, standing in snow, wind howling, making plans to build something that would last, something Dad would be proud of. Winter dragged. January, February, March, cold, dark, long. Wyoming winters test you, test your resolve, test whether you really want to be here or if you're just visiting, waiting for somewhere better. I stayed, worked the ranch, fed cattle, fixed equipment, kept everything running, learned the rhythms, the patterns, the way the land breathed through seasons, the way animals knew weather before it came, the way wind told you stories if you listened. Got a call in February. Unknown number. Almost didn't answer. Too many unknown numbers lately, but something made me pick up. "Ethan Cole," I said. "Mr. Cole, this is Rachel Donovan. I'm the veterinarian in Sheridan. I treated your father's horses." I remembered the funeral, woman who'd spoken. Said Dad talked about me, about plans, about the north pasture. I remember, what can I do for you? I have some of your father's records, medical files for the horses he kept, vaccination histories, that sort of thing. I've been meaning to get them to you but didn't want to intrude. Didn't know if you were staying or selling. I'm staying, building on the north pasture come spring. That's wonderful. Your father would be so happy. Listen, I'm coming out your way Thursday. House call for the Hutchins place. Could drop the records by if you're around. Thursday works. She came Thursday afternoon. Driving a truck with vet supplies in the bed, pulled up to the house. I met her on the porch. She was maybe 40, 45, hard to tell, good bone structure, dark hair pulled back, green eyes, lean build, the kind of woman who worked for a living, who used her hands, who didn't mind getting dirty. "Mr. Cole," she said, extending a hand, "Rachel Donovan." "Call me Ethan." Her handshake was firm, confident, not trying to prove anything, just being. She handed me a folder, your father's horse records. He was meticulous about their care, always on schedule for vaccinations, always called if something seemed off. He loved those animals. He did, treated them better than he treated himself. Rachel smiled. Most ranchers do. Coffee's ready if you want to come in. I shouldn't. I've got another call in 20 minutes. Maybe another time then. She paused, looked at me, something in her expression, evaluation maybe, decision. Actually, I have a daughter, Sophie. She's 11, loves horses. Your father used to let her ride when I'd come out for calls, let her help brush them, feed them, said she had good hands, good instincts. I smiled at that. Sounds like Dad. Anyway, with the horses gone now, she's been sad about it. I was wondering, if you're planning to bring horses back, if she could maybe help, I wouldn't charge you, she just misses it. Misses your dad too. Bring her by Saturday. I've got 2 horses coming next week. Green broke, need finishing, could use help gentling them. Rachel's face brightened. Really, she'd love that, thank you. No need to thank me. Dad would want it, and honestly, I could use the company. She left. I watched her truck disappear down the road, stood on the porch thinking about green eyes and firm handshakes and the way some people carried themselves. Confident but not arrogant, strong but not hard, the kind of person you wanted around, the kind who made things better just by being there. Saturday came cold and clear. Rachel showed up at 9 with Sophie. Girl was small for 11, dark hair like her mom, same green eyes, shy at first, hiding behind Rachel. But when she saw the horses in the corral, something changed, lit up, came alive. Can I pet them? She asked. Sure, move slow, let them smell you first. Sophie walked to the fence, held out her hand. The mare came over, sniffed, blew warm breath on Sophie's palm. Sophie giggled, started talking, low voice, sweet voice, telling the horse about herself, about school, about missing Mr. Cole's horses, about being happy to meet new friends. The mare relaxed, lowered her head, let Sophie scratch behind her ears. She's got it, Rachel said quietly, standing next to me. The gift. Some people have it with animals, Sophie's one of them. Dad saw it too, apparently. He did. Used to tell me Sophie should work with horses when she grew up. Said she'd be better than most trainers he'd known. And your dad didn't give compliments lightly. No, he didn't. We watched Sophie work with the horses. 30 minutes, an hour, she never got tired, never got bored, just focused, present, connected. Rachel and I talked, small talk at first. Weather, town gossip, work, but then deeper. She told me about her late husband, died in a car accident 4 years ago. Left her with Sophie and the vet practice and a hole that hadn't filled. Told me she'd thought about leaving, starting over somewhere else, but Sophie had roots here. Friends, school, stability, so Rachel stayed, built a life, moved forward. I told her about Dad, about the will, about Travis, about the fraud and the forgiveness and the weight of trying to do right when right wasn't clear. Your father prepared you well, she said, gave you the tools, the values, the strength. Now you're using them, he'd be proud. I hope so. They came every Saturday after that. Sophie worked horses. Rachel and I talked, drank coffee, sometimes just sat in comfortable silence. The kind of silence you can only have with people who don't need words to communicate. By March, something had shifted, became routine, became expected, became something I looked forward to. Saturdays, Rachel, Sophie, coffee and conversation and watching a girl connect with animals the way Dad used to. One Saturday in late March, Rachel stayed after Sophie went to help feed cattle with Dale Hutchins. We sat on the porch. Sun warm despite the cold air. Spring coming, you could feel it. In the light, in the way wind smelled, in the way birds were starting to return. Sophie talks about you, Rachel said, calls you Mr. Cole, like she called your dad, says you're teaching her things, important things, how to read horses, how to be patient, how to earn trust instead of demanding it. She's a good kid, easy to teach. She likes you. I like her too. Rachel looked at me, direct look. No game playing, no dancing around. I like you too, Ethan, More than I probably should, more than I planned. I'm not good at this. Dating, moving on, taking chances. But I wanted you to know, in case you felt something similar. I do, I said, feel something, don't know what to call it, don't know what it means. But I look forward to Saturdays, look forward to seeing you, both of you, makes this place feel less empty. Good, that's good. We can figure out what it means together. No rush. No pressure, just see where it goes. I'd like that. She smiled, reached over, took my hand. We sat like that, holding hands, watching the valley, feeling spring come, feeling something new begin, something that had nothing to do with death or inheritance or brothers, something that was just ours, just beginning, just possible. April came warm, ground thawed, frost line receding, earth softening, ready to be worked, ready to be built upon. Mike Patterson showed up first Monday in April. 6 in the morning. Truck loaded with equipment, crew behind him, 3 guys, young, strong, knew their trade. You could tell by the way they moved, the way they handled tools, the way they looked at the site and started planning without being told. This is Tyler, Mike said, introducing his guys, best framer I've ever worked with. This is Carlos. Does finish work that'll make you cry, it's so perfect. And this is Ben, jack of all trades, does everything else. They shook hands, looked me in the eye. Ranchers and cowboys shake hands different than city people. Firmer, longer, like they're taking your measure, deciding if you're worth trusting. I must have passed because they nodded. Got to work. We started with excavation. Rented a small backhoe, dug out the foundation footprint, 2 feet deep, 4 feet wide, ran level strings to make sure everything was square, true, precise. Foundation is everything. Get that wrong and nothing above it will ever be right. Dad taught me that. Said a house built on a crooked foundation would fight you every day of its life. Took us 3 days to dig, to set forms, to run rebar, to check and recheck measurements. Tyler was obsessive about it, would measure, walk away, come back, measure again, sometimes 3 or 4 times. I asked him why. Measure twice, cut once, he said, but measure 6 times, pour concrete once. Can't undo a foundation, can't take it back. Get it right the first time or tear it out and start over. We poured concrete on Thursday. Mixer truck came rumbling up the road. Driver backed in careful, didn't want to get stuck in spring mud. We guided him, positioned him, started pouring. Wet concrete has a smell. Alkaline, sharp, mineral, smells like progress, like permanence, like something that'll outlast you. We worked fast, poured, smoothed, leveled, made sure air pockets didn't form, made sure the mix filled every corner, every gap, every space. When we finished, we had a perfect rectangle, smooth top, level, ready to cure. 30 days, Mike said, wiping sweat. Needs 30 days to cure proper. We'll frame walls in the barn while we wait. Get ahead. When foundation's ready, we'll be ready. Those 30 days felt endless. I'd walk out to the foundation every morning, look at it, touch it, feel it slowly hardening, becoming rock, becoming permanent. This was really happening. Dad's vision becoming real, becoming mine. We framed walls in the barn, traditional timber frame, mortise and tenon joinery, the old way, the way that lasted centuries if you did it right. Mike had templates, patterns. We'd cut joints on one piece, test fit, adjust, cut again. Everything had to fit perfect. No gaps, no force. Just slide together like puzzle pieces made for each other. I learned to read wood, to see grain, to understand which pieces would warp and which would stay true. Oak for load bearing, pine for fill, cedar where moisture was an issue. Every wood had its purpose, its place, its reason. Tyler taught me to cut, showed me how to use a circular saw, a skill saw he called it, how to let the blade do the work, how to guide it, not force it, how to feel when the cut was right and when something was off. "You've got good hands," he said, after I'd made my 20th cut, maybe 30th. "Good feel. Most people fight the wood, try to make it do what they want. You're listening to it, working with it. That's the difference between a carpenter and a builder." "What's the difference?" "Carpenter makes things. Builder makes things that last." By early May the foundation had cured. We started assembly, carried the pre-framed walls out, set them on the foundation, lifted them vertical, braced them, connected them piece by piece, wall by wall, the house taking shape. I was there every day, dawn to dusk, working alongside the crew, measuring, cutting, fitting, lifting, my hands developing calluses, my back getting stronger, my understanding deepening. This wasn't just construction, this was creation. This was bringing something from imagination into reality, from dream into wood and stone and glass. Rachel came by in the evenings, after her last call, after Sophie got home from school. They'd bring dinner sometimes. Sandwiches, thermoses of soup. We'd sit on overturned buckets, eating, talking, watching the sun set over mountains, watching the house grow day by day. Sophie would explore, climb through the framing, imagine rooms. "This is where the kitchen will be. This is where my room could be, if you and Mom ever," she'd trail off, too shy to finish. But the hope was there, the possibility. One evening in June, Rachel and I walked the property line, following the creek, listening to water over rocks. Same sound for 10,000 years. Same sound that would continue long after we were gone. "I've been thinking," Rachel said, "about us, about what this is, what it could be." "Me too." "Sophie loves it here. Loves you, talks about you constantly. Mr. Cole this, Mr. Cole that. How you taught her to read a horse's ears. How you showed her to approach from the side. How you never rush, never force, just wait for trust. She's a good kid. Easy to teach because she wants to learn." "She wants more than teaching. She wants—" Rachel paused, looked for words. "She wants a father, lost hers 4 years ago. Hasn't said it out loud, but I see it. The way she watches you. The way she lights up when your truck pulls in. The way she asks if we can come back tomorrow." "What do you want?" Rachel stopped walking, turned to face me. "I want to be honest. I'm scared, terrified actually, of trying again, of opening up, of letting someone in. James dying nearly broke me. Broke Sophie. Took years to feel whole again, to feel safe. And now I'm feeling things I swore I wouldn't feel again. Things that could hurt just as bad if they end. I'm scared too. Never thought I'd be here, building a house, falling for someone, planning a future. Thought I'd just work the ranch, live alone, get old quietly. But you changed that, made me want more. What if it doesn't work? What if it does?" We stood there, creek running, wind in the cottonwoods, mountains watching, two people who'd lost people, who'd survived, who were brave enough to try again. "I don't know what this becomes," I said. "Don't know if we're ready, if Sophie's ready, if I'm capable of being what you need, what she needs. But I know I want to try, want to see where it goes, want to be open to the possibility." "That's enough for now, that's enough." She kissed me, deeper than before, more certain, more committed, and I kissed her back, feeling something shift, feeling doors opening, feeling the future changing from singular to plural, from mine to ours. The house rose through summer. Walls went up in late June, roof trusses in early July. We worked through heat, through afternoon thunderstorms that rolled over the mountains and dumped rain and then cleared, through long days when the sun didn't set until 9:30, through mosquitoes and horseflies and all the things that make summer in Wyoming both beautiful and brutal. Roof went on mid-July. Shingles, underlayment, flashing, everything layered, everything sealed. Mike was meticulous about it, said a roof was the most important part of any building. Protect what's underneath and everything else lasts. Let water in and the whole structure rots from inside. Windows arrived in August. Big windows facing west, toward the mountains, toward the view. I'd spent extra on these, triple pane, energy efficient, but mostly just beautiful. Big glass that let the outside in. That framed the landscape like art. We set them careful, leveled them, sealed them, stood back and looked. The house had eyes now, had a face, had character, no longer just a skeleton. Now it had presence, had personality, had started becoming what it would be. Inside work began in September. Drywall first. Carlos and Ben cutting sheets, screwing them to studs, taping joints, mudding, sanding, layer after layer until walls were smooth, perfect, ready for paint. I painted all of it, every wall, every ceiling, every trim piece. White for most of it, clean, simple. Let the wood beams show. Let the stone fireplace be the focus. Let the windows frame the view without competition. Took me 3 weeks, working nights after the crew left, working weekends, alone mostly, just me and paint and thoughts, thinking about Dad, about Mom, about the family that had lived here, the family that could live here, the legacy continuing. Found myself talking to Dad while I painted, telling him about decisions, about color choices, about where to put outlets, about whether to go with hickory or oak for the floors, asking his opinion even though he couldn't answer. But sometimes I'd hear him anyway, in my head, in my gut, in the way a choice felt right or wrong. Floors went in late September. Oak, 3/4 inch, tongue and groove. We laid them one board at a time, fitting them, nailing them, creating a surface that would hold up to generations of footsteps, of kids running, of furniture moving, of life happening. The fireplace was last. Stone. Local stone from a quarry 20 miles south, gray and tan and rust, colors of Wyoming earth. We built it ourselves, Mike and me, selecting each stone, fitting it, making sure it locked together, making sure the structure was sound. Took us 2 weeks, but when we finished it was massive, beautiful, the heart of the house. October 15th we finished. Final inspection scheduled for that morning. Inspector came, older guy. Been inspecting for 30 years, walked through slow, checked everything, electrical, plumbing, structure, framing, roof, foundation, made notes, said nothing. We stood outside, waiting for his verdict, my stomach tight. What if something wasn't right? What if we'd missed something? What if months of work didn't pass? He handed me papers, signed, certificate of occupancy. You're approved, good work, real good work. Don't see quality like this much anymore. Most builders cut corners, you didn't. This house'll be here 100 years. Relief flooded through me. We'd done it, built it right, built it to last. Mike handed me keys. Real keys even though I'd been walking in and out for months. Symbolic more than functional, but symbols matter. Symbols mark transitions, mark achievements, mark promises kept. You did good work, Ethan, Mike said. Most owners talk big, want to help, get in the way. You showed up. Learned, contributed, built this with your own hands. Your dad would be proud. I'm proud. Honored to have worked with you. Thank you for taking a chance, for teaching me, for making this real. Wasn't chance, was honor, honoring a good man's memory, honoring his vision. You live this now, you make it home. You build the life he wanted for you. Mike and his crew packed tools, loaded trucks, shook hands one last time, drove away. Left me standing in front of a house that hadn't existed 7 months ago, that was now real, now mine, now ready for life. Rachel came by often, sometimes with Sophie, sometimes alone. We'd sit on the porch, watch the work, talk about the future, about what came next, for both of us, together maybe, if we were brave enough, if we were ready. Sophie turned 12 in August. Rachel threw a party, invited me, small gathering, Sophie's friends from school, cake, games, normal kid stuff. but Sophie pulled me aside at the end. "I made a wish," she said, "when I blew out the candles." "Yeah, what you wish for?" "Can't tell or it won't come true, but it involves you, and Mom, and horses, and being happy." "I hope it comes true." "Me too." September brought the first cold snap, reminder that winter was coming, that time was moving, that the year was ending. Dad had been dead almost a year, almost 12 months, felt like yesterday, felt like forever. The house was nearly done. Final touches, trim work, cabinet installation, appliances. Mike said we'd be finished by mid-October, ready to move in, ready to live in. I walked through it one evening, alone, sun setting, light coming through western windows, warm, golden, the house empty but full of potential, full of possibility. This was the master bedroom, this was the kitchen. This was the living room where a family would gather, where kids would play, where life would happen. Stood at the window, looked out at the creek, at the mountains, at the valley spreading forever. Same view Dad had imagined, same view he'd promised, same piece of earth he'd protected, given, kept safe so I could build exactly this, exactly here, exactly now. I heard a truck, looked out, Rachel's vet truck. She got out, walked to the house, came in without knocking. We were past knocking. "Thought I'd find you here," she said. "Just looking, thinking." "It's beautiful, Ethan, really beautiful. Your dad would love this." "I hope so." She walked to me, stood close, looked out the same window, saw the same view. We'd been dating 6 months now, taking it slow, no rush, no pressure, but growing, deepening, becoming something that felt right, felt solid, felt like it could last. "Sophie wants to know if she can have a horse," Rachel said. "Her own horse, to keep here, to care for, to train." "What do you think?" "I think she's ready. I think she'd be responsible. I think it would be good for her. But it's your land, your barn, your call." "Tell her yes. We'll find her a good one, young, green, something she can grow with." Rachel smiled, turned to me. "You're a good man, Ethan Cole. Your father raised you right." "He tried. Some days I feel like I'm figuring it out. Other days I feel lost." "We're all figuring it out. That's what life is, figuring it out together." She kissed me, soft, gentle, no urgency, just connection, just affection, just two people finding each other after loss, after pain, after learning to be whole again. The house finished October 15th. Final inspection passed. Certificate of occupancy issued. Mike handed me the keys. Actual keys, even though I'd been walking in and out for months. Symbol more than function. Symbol of completion, of accomplishment, of promise kept. "You did good work," Mike said. "Most owners talk big. Few follow through. You were here every day. Learned, contributed, built this with your own hands. Your dad would be proud. Thanks for taking a chance, for letting me help." Wasn't chance, was honor, honoring a good man's memory, honoring his vision. Now you live it, you make it home, you build the life he wanted for you. Mike and his crew packed up, drove away, left me standing in front of a house that hadn't existed a year ago, that was now real, now mine, now ready. I moved in that weekend. Rachel and Sophie helped. We carried boxes, arranged furniture, hung curtains, made beds, turned empty rooms into lived spaces, into home. Saturday night we sat on the porch. 3 of us, stars massive overhead, fire in the fireplace inside, warmth, safety, peace. Sophie was asleep on the couch, exhausted from helping, from running around, from exploring every corner. Rachel and I sat in rocking chairs, holding hands across the space between. "This feels right," Rachel said, "being here, with you. Sophie's happy, I'm happy, haven't felt this way since. Since before James died. It's good, it's scary, but it's good." "I feel it too." "Where do we go from here?" I don't know, but I know I want you here. Both of you, not rushing, not forcing, just being open to it, to us, to what we could be. I'm open to it. Good, that's good. We sat in silence, comfortable silence, the kind that comes when you don't need to fill space with words, when presence is enough, when being together is its own language. November came, anniversary of Dad's death. 1 year, 12 months, 365 days since Travis called at 4:47 in the morning and said the words that changed everything. Dad's gone. I woke that morning feeling it. The weight, the anniversary, the full circle. 1 year ago I was sleeping in my Cheyenne apartment, had a different life, different plans, different future. Now here I was, living in a house I built, on land I inherited, with a woman I was falling for, everything different, everything transformed by loss and choice and the long hard work of figuring out what came next. I went to the cemetery alone, needed to be alone for this, needed to talk to him without audience, without witnesses, just father and son, even if only one of us was still breathing. Drove the familiar road, same route as the funeral, as all the visits since, past the church where we'd held the service, past the diner where we used to eat breakfast on Saturdays, past the feed store where Dad knew everyone by name. Small town, where everyone knew your story, where nothing was private but everything was personal. Pulled into the cemetery. Gravel drive winding through headstones, some dating back to the 1800s, pioneers, homesteaders, people who'd bet their lives on this land and lost, but their names remained, carved in stone, remembered, part of the permanent record. Found Dad's grave on the hill, the spot we'd chosen, view of the valley, view of the mountains, view of everything he'd loved, everything he'd protected, everything he'd left behind. The grave had changed, no longer just fresh dirt and a temporary marker. Now there was a headstone, granite, dark gray, polished, simple. We'd chosen it together, Travis and me. One of the few things we'd agreed on without argument. Franklin James Cole, 1952 to 2024, beloved father, honest man. Below that, smaller letters, a quote we'd found in his journals, in his handwriting, something he'd written years ago, maybe for us, maybe for himself, maybe for this exact moment. The land endures, the work matters, the truth prevails. I sat on the ground, same spot as before. Cold November earth under me, sky gray, clouds moving fast, wind sharp, winter coming, first snow probably in the next week or two, season turning, year ending, circle completing. It's been a year, I said out loud, voice steady, calm, 1 year since you died, since everything changed, since I had to figure out who I was without you here to guide me. A crow called from the cottonwoods, same sound as always. Nature doesn't mark anniversaries, doesn't care about human grief, just keeps going, keeps being, indifferent and eternal. I built the house, I told him, finished it last month, October 15th, right where you said, north pasture by the creek, timber frame like you wanted, stone fireplace. Big windows facing the mountains. It's beautiful, Dad, really beautiful. I think you'd love it. I hope you'd love it. Told him about the process, about Mike Patterson, about learning to frame, to measure, to cut, to build with my own hands, about the satisfaction of creating something permanent, something that would last, something that honored his vision. Told him about Rachel, about how she'd appeared in my life unexpected, about Sophie, about falling for both of them, about being scared but being brave anyway, about letting myself hope for a future that included family, connection, love. She's good, Dad. Rachel, strong, smart, kind, works hard, raises her daughter right. You'd like her, you'd approve, I think, I hope. Told him about Travis, about the job loss, about the crisis, about not loaning him money, about letting him figure it out, about him finding work, making payments, staying clean, staying sober, staying on track. I don't know if I did right by him. Don't know if you'd agree with my choices, with how I handled it, but I tried to do what you would have done, tried to be fair but firm, give him a chance but hold him accountable, let him face consequences but not abandon him. The wind picked up, colder now, biting. I pulled my jacket tighter. Dad's jacket, the leather one, still smelled like him faintly. Old Spice and leather and work. Would that smell fade eventually? Would I forget what he smelled like? What his voice sounded like? The exact way he looked when he smiled? I'm scared of forgetting, I admitted. Scared that time will blur the memories, that your face will become less clear, your voice less distinct, that someday I'll try to remember you and won't be able to. Not really. Not the way you actually were. But then I thought about the house, about building it according to his plans, his vision, about making choices based on what he'd taught me, about hearing his voice in my head when I faced decisions, about feeling his presence in the land, in the work, in the legacy. Maybe that's how we keep people alive, not in perfect memory, not in unchanged recollection, but in action, in choices, in living according to the values they taught, in carrying forward what they started, in being who they raised us to be. I miss you, I said, voice breaking now, emotion pushing through. Every single day I miss you, miss calling you, miss asking advice. Miss just sitting with you drinking coffee watching the sun come up. Miss the way you made everything feel manageable, even when it wasn't, even when things were hard. You had this way of putting things in perspective, of making me see what mattered. Pulled out the letter from my jacket, the one I'd found in the saddle, unfolded it careful, read it again. Must have read it 50 times by now, 100 times, but it never got old, never lost power. Dad's handwriting, Dad's words, Dad's love and foresight and protection reaching from beyond death. You knew, I said, you knew Travis would try something, knew he was desperate, knew I'd need help, and you prepared. You hid this letter, you hid the real will, you transferred the water rights. You thought of everything, planned for everything, made sure I'd be okay even when you weren't here. Thought about that, about a father's love, about caring enough to prepare, to protect, to think 5 steps ahead, to ensure your children would be safe even after you were gone. That was love, real love, not just saying it, doing it, building it into every decision, every choice, every plan. I want you to know something, I said, looking at the headstone, at his name carved in stone. I'm grateful, so grateful for everything, for raising me, for teaching me, for showing me what it means to be a man, not by talking about it, by living it, by being it every single day. For being fair, for being honest, for working hard, for keeping your word, for protecting what mattered, for loving us enough to be tough when we needed tough, for being gentle when we needed gentle, for knowing the difference. I'm going to try to be that kind of father someday, if Rachel and I, if Sophie, if we become what I think we might become. I'm going to try to be what you were, probably fail sometimes, probably mess up, but I'll try. I'll remember what you taught, how you taught, why you taught. Stood up, knees stiff from sitting on cold ground, brushed off my jeans, looked at the headstone, at Mom's headstone next to it, together again. Finally, after 38 years apart, wondered if they were somewhere, somehow, watching, proud together. Thank you, I said one more time, for everything, for being my dad, for loving me, for trusting me with your legacy. I won't let you down, I promise. I'll take care of the land. I'll honor your memory. I'll be the man you raised me to be. Started to walk away, stopped, turned back. One more thing, I forgive Travis, fully, completely. He did wrong, he hurt us, but he's trying now, really trying, and I think he's going to make it, going to become who you hoped he'd be. It'll take time, but he's on the path, and I'm going to help him, not by fixing his problems, by being his brother, the way you'd want, the way family should be. So rest easy. We're going to be okay. The ranch, the land, the family, all of it, you made sure of that. You built something that lasts, not just the property, the values, the lessons, the legacy, that endures, that continues. That lives in me, in Travis, in whoever comes next. Walked back to my truck, got in, sat for a minute looking at the graves. Two people who'd loved each other, who'd loved us, who'd done their best with what they had, who'd left us with more than land, with more than money, with principles, with character, with a foundation to build on. Drove home, to my house, the one I built, the one Dad envisioned, down the gravel road, through the gate with the coal ranch sign, up the drive to the timber frame structure sitting exactly where it should be, exactly where he'd pointed 37 years ago and said, "Someday, son, someday you'll build right here." Someday had come, the promise was kept, the vision was real. And I was finally home. Spring came different that year, warmer, earlier, snow melted by mid-March. Crocuses pushed through brown grass by the 1st of April, the land waking up, coming back to life, same as every spring but feeling new, feeling full of possibility. I'd been living in the house 5 months, long enough for it to feel like home, long enough to know which floorboards creaked, which windows stuck when humidity was high, which corner of the porch caught the best afternoon sun, long enough to have routines, coffee on the east porch at dawn, work until noon, lunch at the kitchen table, more work until the light failed, dinner, rest, repeat. Simple life, honest life, the kind Dad had lived, the kind that built calluses and character, the kind that made you tired in a good way, a satisfying way, the way you get tired when you've done something real, something that matters. Rachel came by 3 or 4 times a week now, sometimes for work, horses needing care, cattle needing shots, sometimes just because, just to see me, just to sit on the porch and talk, just to be. Sophie came every Saturday still, had her own horse now, young mare named Willow, buckskin with a black mane, gentle, smart, perfect for a 12-year-old learning to train. Sophie spent hours with that horse, brushing, riding, teaching, learning, the two of them growing together. One evening in late April, Rachel and I sat on the porch after Sophie had gone home, sun setting over the Bighorn Mountains, sky turning that particular shade of orange that only happens in Wyoming, like the whole atmosphere was on fire, like the world was being painted new every evening, then purple creeping in from the east, then that deep blue that comes right before dark, the blue that makes you feel small and large at the same time. Stars starting to appear, first Venus, bright as a spotlight, then the constellations, Orion's belt, the Big Dipper, then thousands more as the light faded completely, Milky Way spreading across the sky like spilled milk, like a river of light, the kind of sky you never see in cities, the kind that reminds you how much universe exists beyond your small corner of Earth. I've been planning this for weeks, carrying the ring in my pocket, waiting for the right moment, the perfect moment, but perfect never comes. You just have to choose to be brave, choose to take the leap, choose to say the words that change everything. "I've been thinking," I said. "About what?" Rachel's voice was soft, comfortable. She was leaning back in her chair, feet up on the railing, glass of wine in her hand, relaxed, happy, more relaxed than I'd seen her in the 4 years I'd known her. Like she'd finally let go of something she'd been holding, some tension, some fear, some grief that had been weighing her down. "About us, about this, about where we're going." Rachel turned to look at me, waited, patient. She was good at that, at waiting, at not pushing, at letting things unfold at their own pace. Said it came from working with animals. You can't rush a horse, can't force a cow. You wait, you're patient, you let them come to you. People were the same. "I love you," I said, words I'd been holding, words I'd been scared to say, Words that once said couldn't be unsaid, couldn't be taken back, couldn't be softened or qualified or explained away. Just there, hanging in the air, waiting for response. I love you and I love Sophie, and I can't imagine my life without both of you in it. Can't imagine waking up alone. Can't imagine eating dinner by myself. Can't imagine this house without your truck in the driveway, without Sophie's laughter, without the sound of both of you making this place feel alive. Rachel's eyes filled. Not crying, not quite, just emotion, just feeling, the kind of tears that come from happiness, from relief, from hearing something you'd hoped for but weren't sure would come. I love you too, she said, voice thick. Have for months, maybe longer, was waiting for you to say it first. Old-fashioned maybe, traditional, but I wanted to know, wanted to be sure you felt it too, wanted to hear the words. I'm sure, more sure than I've been of anything, more sure than when I joined the Marines, more sure than when I came back here after Dad died, more sure than any decision I've ever made. I want this, want you, want to build a life together. I took a breath, let it out slow, steadying myself. What I was about to do was permanent, was life-changing, was the kind of choice you only make once if you're lucky, twice if you're blessed. I want to wake up next to you every morning, want to have coffee on this porch every evening, want to teach Sophie to rope, want to watch her grow up, want to have Sunday dinners, want to argue about what color to paint the bedroom, want to grow old watching sunsets from this exact spot, want to build something that lasts, want to be your husband. What are you saying? But she knew. I could see it in her eyes, she knew. Was just waiting for me to say it proper, say it clear, say it right. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the small box. Velvet. Blue. Had been carrying it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, waiting for courage, waiting for the right words, waiting for the perfect moment that never comes because perfect is something you create, not something you find. I'm saying marry me, be my wife. Let me be Sophie's father, not replacing James, never replacing him but being there, being present, being the man she can count on. Let's build this life together. Let's make this house a home. Let's be a family, the 3 of us, together. Open the box. Sapphire ring inside, not diamond. Rachel had mentioned once she didn't care for diamonds, said they were common, said everyone had diamonds, said she preferred sapphires, said they had character, had color, had depth, had meaning. I'd remembered, had driven to Billings, spent a day looking. Found this one in a small jewelry store run by an old couple. Montana sapphire, mined in Rock Creek. Deep blue, color of the sky right before dark. Simple setting, white gold band. Delicate but strong, perfect for her hands, for the work she did, for the life she lived. Rachel looked at the ring. At me, back at the ring, put her hand over her mouth. Eyes spilling over now. Real tears, happy tears, the kind that mean yes before the word is spoken. Yes, voice muffled by her hand. Then clearer, stronger, yes, yes, of course yes. I thought you'd never ask, thought maybe you didn't want, thought maybe I was hoping for something you weren't ready for. I'm ready, I'm so ready. I took the ring from the box, held her left hand, slipped the ring onto her finger, 3rd finger, the one that supposedly connects directly to the heart, ancient belief, probably not anatomically accurate, but true in the ways that matter, the ways that can't be measured, the ways that exist in symbol and meaning and commitment. Perfect fit, like it was made for her hand, like everything was aligning, like the universe was saying, yes, this is right, this is how it should be, this is the path, this is the future, this is what comes next. We sat there holding hands, engaged, planning a future, planning a life. 2 people who'd lost people finding each other, finding hope, finding the courage to believe in good things again, to believe in happiness, to believe that loss doesn't have to be the end of the story, that new chapters can be written, that love can come twice, that families can be built from pieces. The stars wheeled overhead, same stars that had watched over generations of Coles, same stars that would watch over generations to come, witness to this moment, this choice, this beginning. "When do we tell Sophie?" Rachel asked. "Now, let's go tell her now." We drove to Rachel's house. Small place in town, 2-bedroom, neat, comfortable. Sophie was doing homework at the kitchen table, looked up when we walked in. "Hey, you guys okay? You look," she paused. "Weird, you look weird." "We're better than okay," Rachel said. "Sit down." Sophie sat, looking between us, trying to read faces, trying to figure out what was happening. "Ethan and I are getting married," Rachel said. "If that's okay with you, if you're comfortable with that." Sophie's face went through emotions. Surprise, confusion, then understanding, then joy, pure joy. "Really, you're serious?" "Really?" Sophie jumped up, hugged Rachel, hugged me, started crying, happy crying. This is the best. This is what I wished for on my birthday. When I blew out the candles, I wished you two would get married. I wished we could live at the ranch. I wished." She couldn't finish. Too emotional, too happy. We hugged her, the three of us standing in that kitchen. New family forming, new configuration, not replacing what was lost, but building something new, something different, something ours. Wedding planned for August the following summer. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. Pastor Jim Warren officiating. Same pastor who'd done Dad's funeral, who'd witnessed Dad's letter, who knew our story, who understood what this meant. But first, something else. Something Sophie brought up a week later. We were at the ranch, working horses, Sophie brushing Willow. I was fixing a fence nearby. Sophie walked over, quiet, serious. The way she got when she was thinking about something important. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Anything." "When you and Mom get married, when we move here, what do I call you?" "Whatever you're comfortable with." "My dad, my real dad. He died when I was 9. I remember him. I loved him. I don't want to forget him." "You shouldn't forget him. He was your father. He'll always be your father. Nothing changes that." "But you're going to be my dad too, right? Like legally, when you marry Mom." "If you want that, if you're comfortable with it." Sophie looked at the ground, kicked at dirt. "I was thinking maybe you could adopt me, legally, so I'm really your daughter, so it's official, so I'm a Cole." My throat tightened. "You want that?" "Yeah, I do. If it's okay, if you want to." I knelt down, looked her in the eye. "Sophie, I would be honored, honored to be your father, honored to have you as my daughter, honored to give you my name, our name, Dad's name." She hugged me, tight. Thank you for everything, for teaching me, for being patient, for loving Mom, for being you." We started the process, paperwork, lawyers, court dates. Rachel's late husband's parents had rights, grandparents. They contested at first, wanted visitation, wanted to keep Sophie connected to their son's memory. We met with them, Jim and Carol, good people, grieving people, scared of losing their connection to their son through his daughter. "We're not trying to erase James," Rachel said. "We're not trying to make Sophie forget. We're building a new family, but Sophie will always know her father, will always honor his memory. We'll make sure of that." "What about visits?" Carol asked. "Will we still see her?" "Of course. Whenever you want, she's your granddaughter. That doesn't change. Adoption doesn't change that, just adds to her family, doesn't subtract." They agreed, signed the papers, wished us well. Said James would have wanted Sophie to be happy, to be loved, to have a father, even if that father wasn't him. Adoption finalized in July. Week before the wedding, judge signed papers, Sophie Cole officially, legally, permanently. Sophie cried when the judge said it, when he handed her the papers with her new name. Sophie Marie Cole, same middle name, new last name, new family, new future. We celebrated at the ranch. Small party, just us. Rachel, Sophie, me, cake, candles. Sophie blew them out, made another wish. Wouldn't tell us what, just smiled, said some wishes are private. Wedding day came hot and clear. August in Wyoming. One of those days where the sun beats down relentless from a cloudless sky. Temperature hit 93 by noon, but it was dry heat. Bearable. The kind where shade makes all the difference, where a breeze feels like blessing. Ceremony was outside, ranch property, by the creek. Same spot where Dad used to take me fishing when I was 8. Same spot where he'd taught me to cast, to be patient, to wait for the fish to come to you instead of chasing them. Same spot where he'd first pointed across the water to the north pasture and said, "Someday, son, someday you'll build right there, make a life there, raise a family there." We'd set up chairs the day before, 40 of them. White folding chairs borrowed from the church, arranged in rows facing the creek, altar at the front. Simple wooden arch that Mike Patterson had built, draped with white cloth and wildflowers, Wyoming wildflowers, lupin, Indian paintbrush, columbine, colors of the high country, colors of home. Small wedding, intimate, just family, friends, neighbors, people who mattered, people who'd been part of the story, part of the journey, part of what led to this moment. Dale Hutchins came, old ranch hand who'd worked with Dad's father, who'd watched 3 generations of Coles grow up on this land. He was 89 now, moved slow, needed help walking, but his mind was sharp, his eyes clear. He sat in the front row, right side, smiled the whole time, like he was watching something he'd waited his whole life to see. Mike Patterson came, contractor who'd built the house, who taught me to frame, to measure, to build with my hands, brought his whole crew, Tyler, Carlos, men who'd worked alongside me, who'd sweated with me, who'd become friends. They sat together, back row, made jokes, kept things light, the way working men do. Judge Booth came, drove down from Buffalo, 84 years old now, still drove himself, still sharp, still steady. Brought a gift wrapped in brown paper, framed copy of Dad's real will, the one he'd kept safe in his safe, the one that had changed everything, saved everything. Inscribed on the frame in careful calligraphy, truth prevails, always. Rachel's parents came, flew in from Oregon. Haven't seen them in years, since James's funeral. They'd stayed away. Too painful, too many memories, but they came for this. To see their daughter happy again, to see Sophie smiling, to witness new beginning, new hope, new family. And Travis came. I'd sent the invitation to his Billings address 6 weeks prior. Simple card, cream paper, formal printing. Ethan Cole and Rachel Donovan request the honor of your presence. Date, time, location, RSVP. I'd waited for the response, checked the mail every day. Nothing. 2 weeks passed, 3 weeks. I started to think he wouldn't come, wouldn't feel welcome, wouldn't want to be there, wouldn't be able to face it, face me, face what we'd been, what we'd become, what we were trying to be. Then 4 days before the wedding a card came. Simple checkmark next to attending. No note, no message, just the checkmark he was coming. He showed up early, before guests arrived, before the chairs filled, before the music started, drove up in his old Honda Civic, the one he'd bought after selling his truck, still driving it 4 years later, taking care of it, making it last, living within his means, living honest. Got out, stood by his car, uncertain, like he didn't know if he belonged, like he was waiting for permission, like he thought maybe the invitation was a mistake, like he expected me to tell him to leave. I walked over. We stood 6 feet apart, looking at each other. Hadn't seen him in 8 months, 9 months. He looked different, better. The haunted look gone, the desperation gone, eyes clearer, face fuller. He'd gained weight, healthy weight, working man weight, Not the gaunt look of addiction, of stress, of sleepless nights. Clothes were different too. Clean pressed shirt, dark slacks, dress shoes. He'd bought new clothes for this or borrowed them. Either way he'd made effort, showed respect, showed he understood what this meant. "Thanks for coming," I said. "Thanks for inviting me." His voice was quiet, uncertain, wasn't sure if you'd want me here after everything, after what I did. "You're my brother, course I want you here, always wanted you here. Just needed time, needed space to heal, needed to figure out how to be brothers again. Even after everything, even after the will, the forgery, the lies. Especially after everything. That's when family matters most, not when things are easy, when they're hard, when forgiveness costs something, when it hurts to give it. That's when it means something." Travis's eyes got wet. Not quite crying, but close, just emotion pushing through, breaking through the walls he'd built, the defenses he'd maintained. How do you do that? How do you forgive something like what I did? I stole from you, tried to take your inheritance, forged Dad's name. How do you let that go? I don't know if I've completely let it go, don't know if I ever will completely, but I decided holding it hurt more than releasing it. Decided Dad would want me to forgive. Decided that's who I want to be. The kind of man who gives second chances, who believes people can change, who doesn't write people off forever. "Do you think I've changed?" "Yeah, I do. You did the work, paid your debts, stayed clean, stayed employed, stayed honest. That's change. Real change, not just words, action, day after day, month after month, year after year. That counts for something, counts for everything." We stood in silence, comfortable silence, the kind you can only have when the worst is over, when the storm has passed, when you're both still standing and surprised by it. Then Travis stuck out his hand. "I'm proud of you," he said, voice stronger now, more certain of this, of what you've built, the house, the life, Rachel, Sophie, all of it. You did good, better than good. You honored Dad, honored his memory, honored everything he taught us, became the man he wanted you to be. I shook his hand, felt the calluses, working man's hands, then on impulse, surprise to both of us, I pulled him into a hug, real hug, brother hug. The kind we hadn't shared since we were kids, since before Mom died, since before everything got complicated. Travis hugged back, held on. We stood there, two brothers, damaged, scarred, but healing, slowly, carefully, finding our way back to something that looked like family. "We're going to be okay," I said, voice muffled against his shoulder. "You and me, going to take more time, going to take more work, but we're going to be okay, going to figure out how to be brothers again, how to be family again." Yeah, Travis's voice was thick. "We are, I believe that now. Didn't for a long time, thought I'd destroyed it, destroyed us, destroyed any chance, but maybe there's hope. There's always hope. That's what Dad taught me. Never give up, never quit, keep working, keep trying, keep believing things can get better, and eventually they do." Guests started arriving. We separated. Travis found a seat, back row, edge, easy exit if he needed it, if it got too much, if the emotions overwhelmed him, but he stayed, sat through the whole ceremony, watched, smiled, clapped when we kissed, stayed for the reception. Ceremony was beautiful, simple, traditional. Pastor Warren officiated. Same pastor who'd done Dad's funeral, who'd witnessed Dad's letter back in August 4 years ago, who knew our whole story, every ugly piece, every hard part, every moment of doubt and struggle and redemption. He spoke about love, about second chances, about building families from broken pieces, about how God takes the shattered and makes it whole, takes the lost and brings it home, takes the grieving and gives them joy. Not erasing what was, but creating what could be. Rachel walked down the aisle, Sophie beside her, both in simple white dresses, nothing elaborate, nothing fancy, just clean, elegant, beautiful, both of them glowing, both smiling, both looking at me like I was the answer to prayers they'd stopped believing in. I stood at the altar watching them come, felt Dad's presence, strong, clear, unmistakable, like he was standing right beside me, hand on my shoulder, the way he used to when I was learning something difficult, when I needed support, when I needed to know he believed in me. I felt him proud, happy, approving, seeing his vision come true, seeing his son build the life he'd wanted for him, the life he'd protected, the life he'd made possible through foresight and planning and love that reached beyond death, beyond the grave, beyond time itself. The vows were traditional, simple, time-tested, I take thee, to have and to hold for better or worse, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. Words that had joined millions of couples, words that still meant everything, still mattered, still changed lives when spoken with intention. I do, I said, meaning it, every word. I do, Rachel said, eyes locked on mine, promise in them, commitment, choice, choosing me, choosing this, choosing us. Pastor Warren pronounced us husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. I kissed her, gentle at first, then deeper, sealing it, making it real, making it permanent, making it ours. People clapped, cheered, stood. Sophie jumped up and down, excited, happy, her family complete, her world secure, her future bright. Reception was on the porch. Music, food, dancing. Sophie danced with me, stepped on my toes, giggled, said sorry, I said don't be, said this is perfect, said I wouldn't change anything. Travis stayed, talked to people, was polite, was present. Left before it got too late, had to work, night shift, but before he left he found me. Thank you, he said, for today, for giving me another chance. We're family, that's what family does. He nodded, drove away. I watched his taillights disappear, felt something settle, some old wound finally closing, some old anger finally fading, not gone completely, probably never gone completely, but fading, healing, becoming scar tissue instead of open wound. Rachel and Sophie moved in the next day, brought their things, clothes, books, pictures, memories, merged two households into one, filled the house with life, with noise, with laughter, with family sounds. Sophie claimed a bedroom, second biggest. Good light, view of the barn, she hung posters, arranged furniture, made it hers, made it home. Rachel claimed the master bedroom, our bedroom now, unpacked her things next to mine, hung her clothes beside mine in the closet, put her toothbrush next to mine in the bathroom. Small things, normal things, married things. That night we lay in bed, windows open, cool air coming in, sound of creek outside, sound of cattle, sound of wind in cottonwoods, ranch sounds, home sounds. This is real, Rachel said. This is actually happening. Yeah, it is. I keep thinking I'll wake up, that it's a dream, that I'm still in my old house, alone, grieving, stuck. You're not stuck, you're here, we're here together. She turned to me, kissed me. Thank you for taking a chance on us, for being brave, for building this. Thank you for seeing me, for waiting while I figured things out, for being patient. We fell asleep like that, holding each other. New marriage, new family, new beginning. Fall came, cattle season. Branding, sorting, selling, moving herds to winter pasture, hard work. Long days, but good work, satisfying work. Work that connected me to the land, to the legacy, to every Cole who'd worked this same dirt. Sophie helped, 13 years old but capable, strong, brave. She learned to rope, to brand, to read cattle, to know when a cow was sick, when a calf needed help, when to push, when to wait. One morning in late October we had a difficult calving. Heifer, first time, calf was breech, backward, dangerous for both of them. I reached in, felt for hooves, for position, tried to turn the calf, couldn't get leverage, couldn't get it right. Sophie watched, Didn't flinch, didn't look away, just watched, learning. When I finally got the calf turned, got it delivered, alive, breathing, Sophie helped clean it, helped get it nursing, named it Lucky. Why Lucky, I asked. Because he almost wasn't, and now he is. Lucky to be alive, lucky to have you helping, lucky to be here. Made sense, we all were, lucky to be here, lucky to be alive, lucky to have found each other. Winter came, first snow in November, light dusting, then heavier. By December we had 6 inches on the ground, by January a foot, cold, dark, long nights. But inside the house was warm, fire in the fireplace, lights on, dinner cooking, Rachel, Sophie, me, family. Sophie did homework at the kitchen table, same table where I'd eaten as a kid, where Dad had sat, where generations of Coles had gathered. Now she sat there, part of that lineage, part of that legacy. Rachel worked in her office, small room we'd converted, desk, files, veterinary records. She'd cut back her hours, hired an associate, wanted more time at home, more time with family, more time living instead of just working. I sat in Dad's chair, by the fireplace, reading, planning, thinking, sometimes just watching fire, watching light dance on walls, watching Sophie work, watching Rachel type, watching life happen. This was what Dad had envisioned. This was what he'd protected, not just land, not just property, but life, family, continuity, legacy passing from one generation to next, the work continuing, the land enduring. One evening in February, Sophie came to me. Serious look, important question look. I want to learn about Grandpa Frank, she said. Want to know who he was, what he was like. You talk about him sometimes, but I want to know more. Want to understand where I come from, now that I'm a Cole. We sat by the fire. I told her stories. About Dad teaching me to ride, to rope, to work cattle, about his fairness, his honesty, his strength, about Mom dying, about Dad raising us alone, about the values he taught, the lessons he lived. Told her about the will, about Travis's betrayal, about Dad preparing, protecting, making sure truth prevailed, about the letter in the saddle, about Judge Booth, about the water rights, about everything. Sophie listened, asked questions, wanted details, wanted to understand. He sounds amazing, she said when I finished. He was. I wish I'd met him. He would have loved you, would have loved teaching you, watching you grow, seeing you become part of this family. Do you think he'd be proud of you, of what you've built? I hope so, I think so. That's what I'm trying to do, honor his memory, live his values, pass them on. You're doing it, I can see it, in how you work, how you treat people, how you keep your word, that's all him, living through you. Made me think about legacy, about what we leave behind. Dad was gone, but he wasn't gone, he was in me, in the choices I made, in the values I held, in the lessons I taught. He was in this house, this land, this family, still present, still teaching, still guiding. One day in March I was organizing the barn, moving equipment, clearing space. Found an old wooden box in the loft, covered in dust. Hadn't been opened in years. Brought it down, brushed it off, opened it. Inside was a rifle, Winchester Model 70, old, from the 50s maybe, beautiful wood stock, worn smooth from use, bluing worn off in places, loved, used, maintained. And a note, Dad's handwriting. Ethan, this was my father's dear rifle. He taught me to shoot with it when I was 10. I taught you with it when you were 12. Remember that buck you got at 14, your first deer. This is the rifle, it's yours now. Teach your son someday, or your daughter, whoever carries the Cole name forward. This rifle has fed our family for 70 years. Treat it with respect. Love, Dad. Written March 2020. I held the rifle, felt its weight, its balance, its history, 4 generations, my grandfather, my father, me, now Sophie, legacy in wood and steel. Cleaned it that night, oiled it, checked the action, everything still worked. Still tight, still true, quality built to last. Saturday I took Sophie shooting. Set up targets by the creek, taught her safety first, how to hold the rifle, how to breathe, how to squeeze not pull, how to let the shot surprise her. She was natural like she was with horses. Some people have the gift. Sophie had it, for animals, for tools, for understanding things that required patience and feel and connection. This rifle belonged to your great-grandfather, I told her. Then your grandfather Frank. Then me. Now you, 4 generations, you're part of that line now, part of that history. She held it reverently, understood the weight, not just physical weight, the weight of legacy, of trust, of being chosen to carry something forward. Can I carve my name, she asked, like you did, like Grandpa Frank did? Looked at the stock, saw the carvings, small, careful, J. Cole 1952, my grandfather, F. Cole 1965, my father, E. Cole 1987, me. Space for one more. Yeah, you can carve your name. Handed her my knife. She carved careful, slow. S. Cole 2025, Sophie Cole, 4th generation, part of the permanent record. Years passed, not instantly, not in a montage, but day by day, season by season, building, growing, changing. Sophie grew, 14, 15, 16, taller, stronger, more capable, started competing in rodeos, barrel racing, pole bending, won some, lost some, learned from both. Travis stayed clean. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years made his payments to Marcus. Every month, on time, never missed, paid off the debt in year 4. Ahead of schedule, started saving, bought a small place outside Billings. 5 acres, started raising chickens, selling eggs, building something. He came to visit once a month. Usually Sundays, we'd have lunch, talk, work on projects together, the gap closing, the trust rebuilding, slowly, carefully, but happening. Rachel's practice grew, took on another associate, built a reputation. Best large animal vet in the county. People called her at all hours. She went, helped, saved animals, saved ranches, saved livelihoods. I worked the ranch. Cattle, horses, land, kept it running, kept it profitable, kept it whole. Hired Dale Hutchins's grandson when Dale got too old, taught him what Dale had taught me, what Dad had taught Dale, knowledge passing down, skills transferring, legacy continuing. 5 years after the wedding, Sophie was 18, senior in high school, graduation in 2 weeks, valedictorian, full ride to University of Wyoming, agricultural business degree, planning to come back, to run the ranch, to continue the work. We threw a party, graduation party, at the ranch, invited everyone, neighbors, friends, teachers, family, even Travis. 50 people showed up. More filled the yard, filled the porch, filled the house with noise and laughter and life. Sophie gave a speech, stood on the porch. Everyone gathered around. She talked about her journey, about losing her father, about finding a new one, about the ranch, about the land, about legacy. 5 years ago I lost my biological father, she said, but I gained a dad, a ranch, a legacy. Grandpa Frank Cole, who I never met, left me more than land. He left me values. Work hard, keep your word. Forgive but don't forget, build something that lasts. I'm going to college to learn how to run this ranch better. And then I'm coming home, because this is home. This is family, this is where I belong. People clapped, some cried. Dale Hutchins's grandson whistled. Travis walked over to me. We stood at the property line fence. Same place we used to meet when things were bad. She's remarkable, Travis said. You raised her right. We raised her right, Rachel and me, together. Dad would have loved her, would have loved seeing this, all of it, the house, the family, the legacy continuing. Yeah, he would have. I've been thinking, Travis said, about coming back, Not to the ranch, I know that's yours, but nearby. That 5 acres I bought, I could build there, be close. Help out, be part of this, if you want. I'd like that. Sophie would like that, having her uncle around, learning from you too. You've got things to teach, things you've learned the hard way, valuable things. You forgive me, really, completely. I do took time, but yeah, I do. Travis nodded, looked out over the valley. Same view Dad used to love. Same view that had sustained Coles for 4 generations. Same view that would sustain whoever came next. Thank you, Travis said, for giving me another chance, for not giving up, for being the brother Dad wanted you to be. You did the work, you changed, you earned it. We stood in comfortable silence. Brothers, finally, fully, the weight of the past lifting, the possibility of the future opening. That evening, after everyone left, I took Sophie to the creek. Same spot Dad had taken me. Same spot he'd pointed to the north pasture. Same spot where I'd proposed to Rachel. Brought the rifle, the Winchester, the one with 4 names carved in the stock. This is yours now, I said, officially to keep, to use, to pass down someday. Really? Really, you're 18, you're a Cole, you've earned it, you've proven you'll respect it, honor it, continue it. She took the rifle, held it, looked at the carvings. 4 generations, 4 names, same family, same values, same commitment to land and work and truth. What should I teach my kids, she asked, when I have kids? What matters most? Same thing Dad taught me, same thing I'm teaching you. Hard things are hard because they matter. If it's worth having, it's worth working for. Keep your word, be fair, be honest, forgive when you can, but stand firm on truth. And remember, the land endures. We're just caretakers. We don't own it. It owns us. Our job is to pass it on better than we found it. Sophie nodded. I can do that. I know you can. We sat by the creek, watching light fade, stars appearing. Same stars Dad watched, same stars his father watched, same stars that would shine long after we were gone, eternal, unchanging, witness to generations of Coles doing their best, making mistakes, learning, growing, continuing. My phone buzzed, text from Rachel, dinner's ready, you two coming. Texted back, on our way. Sophie and I walked back to the house, lights glowing in windows, smoke from chimney, Rachel silhouetted in the kitchen. Home. Dad's vision, made real, made permanent, made mine, made ours. The morning I buried my father changed everything, took everything I thought I knew and broke it, tested me, challenged me, forced me to become someone I didn't know I could be. But Dad had prepared me, had given me tools, had taught me values, had protected what mattered, had trusted me to figure it out. And we had, Travis finding redemption, me finding love, Sophie finding family, the ranch finding its next generation, the legacy continuing, the work enduring, the truth prevailing. Just like Dad said it would. Just like he'd planned. Just like he'd known. I looked back at the valley one more time, at the land spreading forever, at the mountains standing watch, at the creek running its eternal course, at the house glowing in the darkness. Thank you, I whispered, to Dad, to the land, to whatever force had guided us through. Thank you for this, for all of it, for the pain that taught me, for the loss that shaped me, for the love that saved me, for the legacy that defines me. And then I went inside, to my family, to my home, to my life. The life Dad had promised. The life I'd built. The life I'd earned. The life that would continue long after I was gone, through Sophie, through whoever came next, through the values we'd taught, the lessons we'd lived, the truth we'd protected. The land endures. The work matters. The truth prevails. Always.